Hey, what's up, everyone? Hold on. Let me make sure this is working. Give me one moment. Yeah, all right. Is it coming in the right way there? Did the camera? Yeah, it is actually. What's up? Last time we tried this from the phone, I couldn't get it to go horizontal. Like I don't know what it was going. I hit every setting like multiple times and was trying to get it. So here we are. Thank you. We're on a little early. It's because I wanted to test to make sure we were on, and here we are. It sounds like it looks like the audio is going. So let me just test that real quick. Yeah, perfect. Awesome. Well, welcome to our Venom Vlog live episode where we're going to discuss the spoilers for Venom: The Last Dance. And I appreciate you guys waiting for this. It's been, kind of a crazy 2 weeks for us health wise. The movie came out 2 weekends ago, and we went and saw it opening weekend, but that weekend we started getting really sick and not feeling well, for lack of a better term. But some of our health issues started up around that time. So I appreciate it again, everyone sticking it out with us and waiting for this episode. We will. I was thinking about doing like a recorded, full on, episode where I just talk about everything I thought of the movie and just go through the film beat by beat. But I thought this would just be more fun. I was like, we're already gonna do a live discussion anyway, so we'll see if anyone shows up, and if they do, we can just do everything live. I have our notes here. We did finally see the movie a second time, so I had 3 tickets to go see it opening weekend. I was gonna go see it on, I think it was the Thursday, which is the one I saw. Friday was supposed to be me also in 3D, and then on Sunday I was going to see it in IMAX, but I started not feeling well. So on Friday, Blue took my tickets and he went and saw it in 3D, and then he started not feeling well soon after. So none of us went on Sunday, and we exchanged those tickets for a later date. So now I finally have seen the movie 2 times, and I'm ready to talk about it. And I have kind of my breakdown, my notes here on some note cards, and I have just a total of 3. But this movie wasn't very long. It was like an hour and a half, I think, or I know it was maybe like an hour and 45 minutes. There were a lot of credits though, and I sat through them, and I was very happy sitting through the credits because they actually did something that we talk about on this channel, which is giving, if you're going to pull from certain comic books, you should give certain creators their credit. And I don't know if that means compensation. Sometimes that depends on contracts that go outside the movie's reach, to a degree. But I did see Donny Cates, Ryan Stegman, and a lot of other great people that had created stories that ended up influencing this film, and that was good to see. So we were talking about that in our, when we did our trailer reaction, and we saw when they revealed Null, and we were like, man, we really hope that these guys get the credit they deserve and see their name at the end. And I was really happy to see that that is the case. We got to see everyone's name who inspired in some way this film. So I just want to start off with that and say, if you make it through the credits, there are a lot. There are 2 credit scenes, like post credit scenes. So we'll talk about those soon too. But if you're here and you want to jump into the conversation, please do jump in the chat. I'm open to hear anything, your thoughts of the film. I want to read your comments out loud too, and kind of get your feedback on stuff. But otherwise, we're just going to go in, and I have like a beat by beat. And thank you for the thumbs up to the person who did that. We're going to go beat by beat, but I want to start with the credits. Like I said, we had they list the people who did music for the movie. They list comic book artists and creators and writers that influenced the movie. Dude, what's up, Mike? How's it going, dude? And speaking of, Mike's been really awesome. Did you see that? I'm going to try to appear on his show on Sunday. So Mike, please, yeah, let's keep chatting about that. I really appreciate the invite, and I want to make time for that. So please reach out to me, and we'll schedule whatever time you need for Sunday. I'd love to be on the show. So make sure you guys are subscribed to Did You See That? Check out his content anyway. You should be. It's awesome. But I'd love to be on your show, man. So let me know. Hey, Jen, what's up? You made it. I know. Well, it's hard to make a live feed on my channel when I rarely make live feeds. So I'm glad our stars aligned today. I really appreciate that. You haven't seen The Last Dance yet, but I've been hearing mixed things. We'll get into it. I'll share my thoughts and everything too before we get into the breakdown. I'll kind of give you my review as well. But yes, I'm glad you're here, Jen. That's awesome. Thank you for being here. Yeah, I'm kind of mixed on the movie too, so we'll get into that. But as far as movie credits, we have Kelly Marcel and Tom Hardy, kind of the driving force of this movie. You had Kelly write and direct it, and obviously be a producer as well, and Tom producing and having story input as well with Kelly. and being an actor and producer on this also. So they were a big driving force for this third movie. But you also had Avi and Hutch and Amy, Matt, Joseph, and Sophia that were all listed as producers as well. And then you had the great cast, and we're going to get into that. That's going to give out some spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, this is your chance to go away, because we're going to dive into spoilers by naming some of these characters. We have Chewie Ejiofor, Chiwetel Ejiofor. He plays Rex Strickland. Obviously, you have Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock and Venom. Juno Temple as Dr. Teddy Payne and Agony. Clark Bacco as Sadie Christmas, I believe, and Lasher. And then you have Stephen Graham returning as Detective Patrick Mulligan. Also, don't really know what his symbiote's called. We're going to get into that. I know people are going to say it's toxin. It's not toxin. So we'll get into that. Cristo Fernandez, our friend Danny Rojas from Ted Lasso, he plays the barman. And then you have Reese Ifans, who was played the Lizard in a previous Sony Spider-Man movie, is playing a guy named Martin in this. And Alana Eubank, who plays Nova, his wife. Hala Finley, who plays their daughter Ekko. And Dash McLeod, who plays their son Leaf. And then Andy Serkis as Null. And they also credit Reed Scott, who plays Dr. Dan Lewis in the first two films. They credit him, but I don't remember seeing him in the movie. And then you got Peggy, obviously, who's coming back as Mrs. Chen. Our friend Otis Winston as Donald, the security guard. And Jacob Tamori, the stunt double of Tom Hardy, and also amazing, talented guy. Awesome dude, has a cameo in this as the tuxedo guard. So very cool. Awesome cast, great people. A lot of them we've talked about numerous times on the show. And Georgie says, hey, did you see that? Yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, you might get spoiled here. Yeah, we're definitely going to get into spoilers. You just sent me the invite? Okay, cool. For Sunday. So yeah, I will I'll check that out after the stream here, and I will see you on Sunday, my friend. I think Sunday we actually have a full day off work. We've had a lot of not just health things, but life stuff happen this past month too. So it turns out that Sunday kind of opened up for us the day you reached out to me. So I'm glad we're able to, make that happen. So that's going to be fun. And also, hi, what's up, Georgie? How's it going, dude? I know I'm here with Spoils. I wanted to pop in and say hello. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, and we're going to dive in here. But let me give my thoughts first, because I know you were asking about them. I am mixed on this movie. Like I kind of am with all the Venom movies. I take them for what they are, which is, kind of mindless fun, I guess is a good way to put it. I don't want to bash anyone who's making these films by saying there's not thought put into it. I think it's just the type of thought that's put in these films is more of a comedic and fun kind of feel. And that's not everyone's vibe, and cup of tea. For me, I think after the first movie, I kind of got all right, this is what they're going for. If they don't get more serious with Carnage, which they got a little bit more serious, but I felt if it still kept this tone, that's what's to expect if we ever get a third movie. And we got a third movie, which is awesome. These movies have been very successful, and we're here with a Venom trilogy, and we get to the third one, and again, it keeps that tone. It's very kind of slapsticky and kind of silly and zany, I guess is a good way to put it, and goofy. There is an emphasis on telling a story, but there is points of the story that you could pick apart if you think about too much. Like the first movie with Riot being gone for 6 months, but still being in the old lady. There's so many things that kind of just, if you think about it a little bit, it just kind of falls apart. And these movies are pretty good at that sometimes, where you put a little bit of thought into it more, and you can start popping holes into things if you really wanted to. And sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. And with this one, I'm kind of in the middle. The first film, I think I gave around an 8, a score out of. I kind of really dug what they were doing. The second film with Carnage, maybe a little bit less. I gave it a 7. And this is kind of in the middle of the two. I feel like this is a little bit on par with Let There Be Carnage as far as what I liked from these movies. But I would still say that puts all these movies to me between a 7 and an 8. And that's pretty good. that's a passing grade for, if you're going by, high school grading standards in the US. That's a D for most of those movies. So yeah, I dig, I dig kind of what these movies do. So this one's no different. I have a mixed bag, and we're going to get into all the details and go scene by scene for the most part, and talk about the stuff I like. And I want to hear from you guys and what you like and dislike. But just right off the bat, that's kind of my general thoughts on this. If you haven't seen my out of the theater reaction, that's how I feel. And then please do go watch that, by the way. Clark Bacco, who is amazing in this film. I thought she was kind of stole the show a little bit as Sadie, aka Lasher. She actually does a little intro for our channel. Our friend Joe, who was on our episode, I used to work with him back in LA at Golden Apple Comics. He does a great podcast called Joe on Joe, where he talks about GI Joe. He's an awesome dude, Joe Slepsky. He's amazing, and he ran into Clark outside of the theater going to see Venom opening night, and he asked if she would record like a little hello video to me, and she did. So out of all 3 movies, we actually ended up getting someone to do some kind of intro for us. And that was awesome to see that, completely surprised me and out of my hands. So Joe, big shout out to you, dude. Thank you so much. I love that you did that. And it was cool to get Lasher to do an intro to our show. So I put that at the beginning of that out of theater reaction. If you guys want to go check that out, please do. All right, let me catch up on chat here. Let's see. Hello, what's up? Swordsman's here too. All right, man. It's an escape. It definitely is. These movies are an escape. I understand there are people that are like, they take these things very seriously. They want a very specific type of interpretation for their favorite characters or whatever. And I get like that too. There are some things that I don't have wiggle room on. And then there's some things I do if the essence I feel of the character is still true. And I think these movies stay true to who Eddie and the symbiote are. And according to how I feel about those characters. So if you don't agree with that, then you have a different view of Eddie and the symbiote than I do, most likely. And, or just want it interpreted a different way. But to me, I think they kind of capture really the heart and soul of Eddie and their relationship, his relationship with the symbiote, and kind of who they are, and that kind of fun 90s banter that the comic books had. So I think they do a good job with that in the movies. And I think Tom gives it his all in that. And that to me is awesome. It makes me like, it adds a lot of points to my enjoyment of these films. All right, so let me check. Let me see. I got, it's kind of mind blowing to think the Venom trilogy exists and not 1/3 of Justice. I know. I know. I think about that all the time, where it's like the DC films and say even some of the Marvel films out there that never made it past a certain point. And then you got Venom, who gets like 3 movies without Spider-Man in it too. Like, that's just wild. I wasn't surprised by Tone in the comics. They say they were adapting the original run, though the third is more of a grab bag of Venom comics from different eras. And it is. The third film, by the way, it pulls from modern comics. It pulls from some 90s comics. Tonally, it tries to go for both, which does make it feel a little disjointed, in my opinion, a little bit more than some of the previous films. I felt like there was a semi-consistency in the first film of, building that silliness and relationship and fun and excitement and action. And the second one had that, but more of the darkness with Carnage, as much as they could do in PG-13. But then this one felt like, there's plot points in this that I feel like get abandoned or don't feel like they matter in a way. So we'll get into that. I want to talk about those details. But you're right about that, Swords. I agree. It's just a grab bag of stuff. This is why I went and saw D&W 5 times in theater, and nice escape from it. Hey, exactly. Sometimes you do that. I think we saw Green Lantern like 7 times. I think 7 times in the theater when it came out. This is our favorite superhero. So we just wanted to support, really. But we also didn't think it's not a great movie, but man, it was, a lot of people crapped all over that movie. We were like, that's not that bad, but I don't know, maybe it is that bad. We just had fun watching it. I kind of, sort of, Georgie said, wish they embrace with the tone a little bit, since there are times in the film where we don't see Eddie and Venom that much. Yeah, and we'll get into that. I get you there. Alcatraz, what's up? You think MCU will actually use the symbiote from No Way Home? I don't know. Sorry. That's a good question, because I feel like this movie almost retcons that. Like, they don't show that sliver in this movie, and I want to get into that. So let's but see, it should have been rated R. Hey, what's up, Eddie's Mullet? Yeah, there's, of course, people have that argument, and I get it. I get that argument. It's not. It wasn't rated R, and I think it probably financially did better because it wasn't rated R. Because I think if you would have kept the tone and still made it rated R just to add gore, no, that wouldn't have worked. You would have to make a completely different movie and make it rated R in order for it to work, in my opinion. Not just slapping extra blood and guts would have, made the movies really any better, I feel. Larry Hama, yeah. Larry Hama, they pulled from his books. They pulled from a lot of great people. The credits at the end were awesome. They credited a lot of people at the end. Hey, what's up, Andrew? I'm glad I'm streaming too. Yeah, sorry I haven't been feeling too well. And thank you. By the way, a lot of you guys, I know I'm behind sometimes on emails, but some of you send me really awesome stuff in email, and I try to respond when I remember to. Sometimes I read it and go, okay, that's cool. I need to process this for a minute, and I'll respond, and then I completely forget, or I jump like 2 days, and I'm like, wait, did I respond to that? Or I can't remember if I responded to it, and I forget. So I just want to say thank you, though, for always reaching out, man. It means a lot. A third film agree had mood whiplash. It does. Almost like they had two separate scripts that got slammed together. I don't know what I don't know if that could be the case, but with Kelly and Tom kind of in control of that, I don't know. Like I don't see that being I could see that if there's multiple writers, but it does feel like that. I agree. Craven the Lion King exists. Yeah, Craven the Lion King, Georgie says. I freaking love Green Lantern. I think it's got a lot of undue hate. I mean, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I've never defended that film. I just like to say what I like of it. It's kind of like Venom. Like if someone really hates that movie, like Venom movies, I just go, okay, I got you. Like I don't really try to defend it too much. But unless they say something that I'm like, well, no, the movie does do that. I feel like that happens a lot too with Green Lantern. Argument is so stupid. Spidey and Venom were never rated R. Deadpool works because that was already that. I mean, yeah, it works because they established that universe as R. That's true. All right. So let's dive into this. Because your comments, and I'm sorry, I'm getting really thirsty. I'm not feeling too good again. So Alcatraz says, I wonder why they completely reshot Eddie's scene from No Way Home. Let's talk about that. So the opening scene of this movie, it has Null full on just exposition dumping on us. Oh, I'm the king in black. I got captured. I created these symbiotes. They turned against me. My children turned against me. I personally don't find Null to be that interesting of a character in the comics. One of the only times I really did like what they did with him was in that Silver Surfer miniseries, where they kind of dive into his backstory a little bit. And I was like, okay, there's something here. But really, he's just an OP villain who just claims to be super powerful, and then everyone's afraid of him showing up, and then he shows up, and he is powerful, but then, Eddie, like, gets the power cosmic and the sword, and then they fight him and stuff, and I don't know, it's like, to me, it's not a super, super interesting execution of what could be a cool character and story, and just in my opinion. So when I heard he was going to be in this, I was like, okay, how are they going to deliver him? So when they start off with this exposition dump, where he's just giving you his whole backstory, it doesn't have a lot of weight. I mean, movies, I feel like, need to show things. So I know the budget wasn't super high on this movie, so they probably couldn't, but I would have rather seen Null and do like an opening. Kind of remember what they did with Carnage in the second movie, where they did that cool animation around his cell, at Ravencroft or whatever. Like, I would have liked to seen something like that, where you see Null and how he got overpowered by the symbiotes. Because I'm like, how? Like, like it's kind of like in the comics. I'm like, how did they overpower this guy? And then it makes even less sense, though, kind of in the movie, because he's tethered by symbiote goo or something to that chair, I'm presuming at the center of Clintar, like he was in the comics. And he has all these xenophages that show up. And I'm like, okay, so did he create the xenophages now? Because the symbiotes betrayed him. So while he's down in the center of the Clintar, cage, he's able, with his hands tied behind his back and everything, was able to create xenophages and then give them the power to teleport? Or are the xenophages just other aliens in the universe that are, eat symbiotes, and he found a way to contact them mentally and bring them to him and offer them, like, hey, if you go get me this codex and get me out, then I can, I'll let you live or whatever when I conquer the universe. And I'm thinking that's kind of the vibe they were going for. I was trying to really piece that together after 2 viewings, and I really couldn't. So maybe one of you guys can help me answer that. But all the while I'm thinking, why doesn't he just have them create a portal over his shoulder and sever those goo things that are holding him? Why does he need specifically the codex to undo those tethers? like that a portal couldn't do. I don't know. I was just trying to think of that, like, or why couldn't they open a portal around him and throw him near a sun to where the tethers will melt off, and then he, I guess because the sun would kill him too. I don't know. I don't know. I was just trying to think of other things to do, well, and trying to explain like the movie. But I don't know. What do you guys think? The portals, like, how did he give them the power to create portals, or are they other creatures that already exist that can create portals, and he just doesn't know how to use them to free himself, and just decides, yeah, go get that, that codex for me. Let me know. Let me know what you think. I'll start reading some comments here, because I think that's a good place to start this discussion. I have opinions, Andrew says, but I went to see what recent news events was kind of punch my brain. And yeah, I get that, man. I get that. I followed your channel since 2018. Alcatraz says, love your content. That's kind of you, man. Thanks for anyone who's been here for more than like a day. Like, I mean, I'm always appreciative, but people who say that and that you're still watching, even if you don't watch all the time, you just come back from time to time, it means a lot. I mean, 900 almost episodes of the Venom Vlog, almost 1,000, because if you count Parasite podcasts and shorts and some of the other like stuff we've done along with this show, Parasite podcast, the Venom Vlog lives, like if you count all those up, we actually are about at 1,000 episodes. So we kind of did make it in a way to 1,000. But I wouldn't have got here without you guys, honestly. Like, because I wanted to quit YouTube the time I started this show. I was going to end Seek and Destroy and be like, all right, if this Venom thing doesn't work out, I think I'm just going to walk away. And this show was awesome. Like once we got over 1,000, I was blown away. I was like, holy cow, like that shows the strength of this fandom. But I really just tried really hard never to let you guys down. That's why I wanted to make sure I researched things. I got, I didn't want to just talk about rumors. I wanted to bring you actual information if I could. And I tried really hard to have like a standard, in a way to show my appreciation for your guys' support. So it means a lot that you've liked what we've done here. Can't talk to all the details with you in chat here. Can't wait. Hey, yeah, no, what's up, Tom? Yeah, let's get into it. Sorry, my nose. I don't know why. Out of nowhere, like I got like a hair or something. Like my nose is just itching. Have you heard anything from Seth Rogen's animated art? I have not heard a single thing about that. So just so you know, and I'm not like BSing. I know sometimes I'll hear things about these movies that I don't share, but I straight up haven't heard anything about the Seth Rogen thing. So, but I am trying to keep my ear out for it. There's one very obscure, unaware character in the film that never reveals who it is, but in the credits, there's a role character that never shows up in the film. Interesting. Well, we're going to talk about a character named Thompson that I mentioned, I alluded to in my out of theater review. So we're going to talk about that character. I have my notes here for that. It seems they want to imply Null's influence of Venom being in the MCU instead of Doctor Strange. I guess so. Are you going to cover Venom Original Sin at some point? Yes, I am actually. Thank you, Kevin, the Saiyan. I have a video. That's the digital one, right? I have been reading that, and I will just wait for it to finish, and I'm going to cover that. Or maybe did it already finish? Maybe I'm one. I don't know where I'm at in that series. I gotta go back and check my app. But I have the Marvel Unlimited app, so yes, you will see me cover that before the show is over. Green Lantern's only film put me to sleep. I mean, hey, you're not the only one. That cured a lot of people's insomnia, that movie. One of those movies that isn't great, but it's fun, and you go in accepting it's not redefining anything, just enjoy it for what it is. That's how I feel about it. I know some people don't like when things are just fun like that. They want things to be taken seriously, and I get both sides of the argument. I'm on both sides of the argument sometimes. So the R rating was a joke. I know it was, Eddie. Yeah, anyone in the chat, don't give Eddie a hard time. He's just messing around. I agree this film felt like there was multiple ideas they had. Yeah, and we're going to get into that because there's some ideas that they just don't finish, Jen. In my opinion, they do, like Eddie killing somebody, and then they just kind of, that goes away. It doesn't really impact Eddie as a character. So there's things like that. So we're going to get into that. Null was wasted. If you're going to using him, this wasn't it. I mean, yeah, I don't know. To me, this was, he's an exposition dumper kind of in the comic books too. So it kind of fit in a way. But I didn't mind him in the movie. Andy Serkis plays him, by the way, which is cool. So hopefully we get to see. So Andy Serkis is Ulysses Claw and Null, but so is, like, there's a lot of double people in these movies. They reuse a lot of actors. So he's not really complex. I agree, Alcatraz, but he does carry some more weight to him. He does. I agree, and I'm not saying he's like an absolute useless character, and I like what he brings to the lore of the symbiote universe. I'm just waiting for that really good Null story that I'm sure someone is going to write one day. Right now he just is, and I accept what he is, but I want to see something where someone really sinks their teeth into that guy and writes something where you're like, God dang, that guy was epic, or scary or something, I just didn't feel it from the books. That some people do feel that way about what's been shown so far, but I'm just not one of them. So from there, we go into the scene you said, the multiverse transfer. That scene is shot differently. Eddie does not go back into so he's in the bar in the MCU universe talking to Danny Rojas, and then he gets teleported. A portal opens up behind him, kind of a little bit like the Xenop Fages, and he dips back into it. But in the actual Spider-Man No Way Home movie, he kind of phases out slowly, and then leaves that sliver of symbiote there. So it looks like there's a sliver of Eddie of this Venom symbiote in the MCU. I don't think that's really been retconned. They just didn't show it in this film. But then also Venom leaves a sliver of himself at this bar when Eddie leaves. And I think just they have a line in the movie that mentions that, where it's like a survival mechanism where it's leaving pieces of itself to reconfigure itself later if need be, but just has, little slivers of it out there. So I kind of like that they at least had a line of dialogue saying that was what's happening. Even though you can infer that from the visuals, but it was cool that they just had that to kind of clarify, like, okay, this symbiote it kind of knows maybe what's coming on some level. Maybe the symbiote is not as much of a loser or as a dummy as it suggested it was in the first film. It actually knew that at some point it could die, and this was its plan to kind of leave slivers of itself. So yeah, there's a sliver in the MCU, there's a sliver here, but Rex collects this one after Eddie has a big scene. It kind of reminded me of pacing wise of the second film, because it goes from like an intro with Carnage, and then it goes into Eddie, and he making pancakes and breakfast and stuff, and he's got the chickens with him. And then in this movie, the parallel is that it starts off with Null and sets that up, and then it goes into Eddie at the bar mixing a drink, and then going and rescuing those dogs. So it kind of had that parallel feeling of the second film, almost beat for beat in a way. But that scene with the dogs, I loved. I thought that was really fun, where he just kind of is drunk and he's not feeling good. He's wearing the Brock's Crocs, and he goes into that place, finds those bad guys, messes them up, eats their heads off, and saves all those dogs. I was like, that's cool. Because, in a meta way, that Tom is a dog rescuer and a lover of dogs. And that was cool to have something like that in the film, in my opinion. I thought that was like a meta thing, but also very fitting for Venom, especially with the Donny Cates run, if you're looking at inspiration there, where Eddie did walk around with the symbiote as a dog for a while. So I thought that was like a cool nod in a way to that, but also a little bit of real life in there as well. It's like what the MCU was doing with Thanos. That's right, Tom. You are correct. Dan being in the credits too, there's no way he was Strickland's boss. Yeah, I know. I saw Dan be mentioned, and I don't think he was. I think he was on a TV screen somewhere. So I think that's why he got credited. I don't think he's that super secret guy. We'll talk about that. But yeah, for sure. The Silver Surfer crossover was genuinely great. I did actually kind of like some of the stuff they did in that with Null. And it's kind of sells the idea of Null a little bit more and kind of his power level. I agree. Because I don't like when villains just sit and say, I'm powerful, and then you have to wait 30 issues before you see how powerful they are. I like that Donnie and everyone went and made that miniseries kind of show him in action. I think that helps sell it, because otherwise he's just a villain talking himself up, and he could be a liar, So I like that they showed that in that series. But yeah, the across the universe anomaly thing, I guess that's true too, Tom. It could be. My one concept for why he needs the Codex is just me writing the movie for them, and that the Codex isn't meant to free him so much as give him power. I guess that could be it true, like give him the power to break out. What? Dude, Sky the cow. Why? Dude, why? Oh, that's so kind of you. Why did you? That's very nice. Like, I know I get, that's a $20 super sticker. That's very nice of you. You didn't have to do that. I greatly appreciate it. Trust me. Thank you. That is awesome. All right. Wow, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much. That is really cool of you. You've been awesome too. I know you're like a Moon Knight fan too, and your comments and your messages and stuff are always very appreciated, and that's above and beyond what you just did there. That is very kind of you. Thank you so much for that. Big shout out to Sky the Cat. And Sky, if you want to plug anything like your Instagram or anything, like please do. Like all of you guys, share, get to know each other. Just because the Venom vlog will end, the channel will still go for a little while, and I hope to still be a part of a community on Instagram or something and keep in touch with you guys. So yeah, please thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much. And they forgot sorry, Swordsman says they forgot that Null is supposed to be weak against light. Sure, they couldn't use Thor, but still. I mean, yeah, I guess that's true. There's also a symbiote in this movie that's kind of impervious to fire, which I thought was kind of neat. As for the Xenop Fages, I think they just upset them because they wanted to originally adapt the Hunted. Yeah, I guess that's true too. Regarding the portals, I think the Phages can make portals, and Null is using them as half-tamed dogs. They're animalistic, so aren't smart enough to know Null telling them to sever the chains binding him. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, Andrew, I kind of like that. So they're just like a pack of wild creatures that have like a one-track mind. I don't know how they hunt symbiotes, but they can't see symbiotes. I never understood that part of the movie either, where only symbiotes that have codexes can they see. so how are they symbiote hunters if they literally can't see a normal symbiote bonded to a normal other being, or just a symbiote in general? Like, you saw their vision, like they can't see them unless they're attached to a codex, and there's very few codexes, I'm assuming, in the universe. So that kind of falls apart for me a little bit too. Yeah, a lot of water lately. Let's see here. Swordsman says Original Sin is so good. It has my new favorite alt Eddie in it. I gotta finish that up, and then I will make a video for you guys. I promise. Either I'll do a couple shorts for it, or I'll do one video. So either way, you'll see it though. But Sky, thank you. Like, holy cow, thank you so much. And Swordsman says, well, I did like the movie. I agree it's the weakest of the trilogy. I feel like, I don't know if it's neck and neck with Carnage for me, I feel. Personally. Regarding the Symbiote Silver, Andrew says, I think they're just trying to leave the door open but not force the fan base to know that there's a sequel hook. I mean, yeah, I guess that's, yeah, for sure. Took a long while for 616 Eddie to recognize and fix his flaws. Yeah, and I feel like... yeah, Agent Venom. So let me dive back into the movie a little bit, because I see some of the comments are getting to where I'm going to go. So yeah, the multiversal travel, that was different, right? He got into his old universe differently. He saves the dogs. I love that scene. That was really awesome. But then he's on the run. He sees like a thing on the news about Detective Mulligan apparently being dead. We find out that's obviously not true, but that's what they're just running with in the news, so this government agency can take his body and without, people looking for him, and try to bond him to a new symbiote. And then Eddie comes up with this idea, like, well, let's go to New York so I can blackmail a judge who got me kicked out of New York, essentially. And that's why I end up in San Francisco with Anne. And so I'm just going to go blackmail this guy. And the symbiote's like, yeah, let's go do it. So I'm of two minds of that. Like, one, it's like, okay, I get that it's Eddie is a guy who constantly makes the wrong decision, or he thinks the wrong way sometimes. This is him going, I need to clear my name, because part of me still wants to have some kind of normal life. Whereas it seemed like him and the symbiote were okay at the end of the last movie, just sitting on a beach, just relaxing. But now they're like, okay, it's not just the local cops that are going to come after us. It's everyone. It's according to them. So they were like, we need to really, clear our name, I guess. And so they come up with this plan to blackmail this judge, or whatever. So they want to go back to New York. And then on their way doing that, Null has sent the Xenop Fages around the universe. Just find me a codex, any codex. And the first one they come across is the Xenop Phage that ends up on Earth that finds Venom. And like I said, kind of a plot thing. You know, they know that they can't show Venom in every single scene because of their budget. So story-wise, they came up with a reason for it, which is if he comes out as Venom, for some reason he can still be a head over Eddie's shoulder, but if they fully form and become Venom, the codex goes off and the Xenophages know exactly where to find them. So that happens. The Xenophage shows up on the plane. There's a fight, and then they throw the Xenophage into the rotor or whatever of the plane, chops it up, and Venom Fortnite parachutes down to the ground with Eddie, and they have to continue on foot with one boot and one bare foot. So I thought that was kind of fun, but also setting up, okay, here are the stakes. Now we gotta go on foot as a human. I'll try to keep you hydrated. I'll try to keep you alive the best I can. But if I come out, Null is going to find us, because now I know for sure that Null is after us. So that whole setup there, that whole first bit, I'm like, okay, it's kind of jumping all over. Blackmail a judge, then do this and then do that. But I feel like, okay, now we got the plot or the adventure, why we're going from point A to point B, what the goal is. I get it now. So let's see, because it's, kind of a little bit jumbled there in the beginning. Let's see what this second act of the film brings. And that's when you start bringing in, like, Dr. Payne. She, you get a little bit of background about her brother and how he died, got struck by lightning when they were kids. And it also scarred her arm. He took the brunt of the lightning strike. And she just got, like, the, nerve damage and pain in her left arm. And that plays into something that happens later with her symbiote, obviously. But setting them up, and then also setting in Rex Strickland. I know a lot of people were thinking he was going to play Orwell, or what's his name, from the group that worked with the Life Foundation. But I had heard that he was going to play Rex probably like I want to say a couple weeks before that trailer drop that revealed Null. So I didn't want to say anything, because one, I wasn't really sure if the person was telling me the truth, but I figured if anyone did know, it probably would have been the person that told me. So I was like, I'm just gonna sit on this, because I certainly don't want to make a video about it. I didn't. It seemed like a cool surprise for fans, and I didn't want to be the person to ruin that surprise. So I'm glad that nobody talked about that. I didn't see anyone reveal that as a possibility. And then that happened in the film, and a lot of people who read the comics, I think, were surprised that it was Rex Strickland. So I think that was cool that they that stayed under wraps. So I don't know who else found out about that information, but nobody said anything. So I'm glad. Jen sends some love to Sky the Cow. Thank you. Yeah, everyone, give Sky some thumbs up, some hearts. Thank you, Sky, again for that. That is super kind of you. Super kind. And if you have any thoughts about the film, I hope you're dropping those in the comments too, please. Tom says, Andrew, I felt the Xenophages were very smart. They didn't hurt other animals or humans that didn't attack them. They still followed Eddie, even though when he wasn't Venom smelling the symbiote on him. I mean, I guess, but I don't. Is that smart, or is that like Null told them? It's like sit. You tell a dog sit, and it sits. So it's like I kind of see what they're saying about the animalistic side. Go find this thing for me. And it's like, okay, I'm going to go find that thing for you, So maybe that's it. And I'm not saying that doesn't take any intelligence, but I think it's more of a focused thing, as opposed to it's not eating anything else, because it doesn't even look like it eats things, really. It looks like it just shreds things. So I am curious about their physiology. Do they need to eat to survive, or are they just wood chippers that shred symbiotes and sever the life out of them? That's my question, because they seem so specifically designed to hunt a symbiote with a codex, with the ability to just kill it instantly by shoving it in its mouth, but shredding it. So it's not like it's digesting anything, as far as I know. It's just shredding. It's like a wood chipper. So I'm wondering, did Null just straight up create them? Which means Null would have created them from his chair, which still shows how powerful he is. But if he could create a life form to hunt something so specifically with portals, he's already powerful. Why can't he just get out of the chair without a codex? I don't know. That's just things I think about. The reason for Venom not being out full time is a good reason. Excuse for not just why exactly. When you're watching these movies, you're like, why isn't he just Venom all the time? It's a good enough reason for me to be like, okay, that's why he'll get hunted down. The problem is when he does get captured, it's because he does something he knows he shouldn't be doing, and he does something stupid. So we'll get into that for sure. But so from the movie, from there you got introduced to Rex. You got all those characters. Rex gets the sliver of the symbiote from the bar, and they take the barman in because he had some exposure to the symbiote, seeing what it did. So they take Danny Rojas with them, and they go to Area 51, which is being decommissioned, and then moved into an underground facility called Area 55. And that's where Dr. Payne is. That's where Sadie Christmas is. That's where we find out Patrick Mulligan is. He's still alive. They brought him in. He was dying. They brought him in from San Francisco. His original symbiote, they said, left his body, left him for dead. So they were trying to find another compatible host, and they do with whatever this green symbiote is. So he is not Toxin. Toxin apparently left his body in San Francisco and left him for dead soon after they fell off that roof or whatever happened at the end of Let There Be Carnage. So this happens pretty soon, like right away almost after Let There Be Carnage. So they straight up say that it is not Toxin, in fewer words. But yes, it's not Toxin. So that's Green's symbiote he's on him. It's not Lasher either, because Lasher shows up later on Sadie. So it's just a new symbiote that just happened to be compatible and was able to keep Patrick Mulligan alive. Pretty much just for more exposition, because that's really all he serves as a point. He just shows up to just tell them about Null, let the humans know that there's an attack coming, which they could have figured out anyway when they first saw the Xenophage, because they learned about that, and then they go to the Xenophage scene where the Xenophage tracks Eddie to that water area where they're doing the water scene, and Eddie kills a guard. A guard is trying to kill him. He takes the gun, shoots the guard, and it seems like it's going to have a big impact on Eddie. Eddie's like, oh my God, I killed a guy, which is kind of in the comics when he choked out that one guy with the symbiote, and his father was Orwell and tried to come after him. So it seemed like it was trying to mirror that kind of dynamic. But after Eddie kills this guy, rebonds with the symbiote, and they get away after you see the symbiote fish and the frog, Eddie gets away with the symbiote and then runs into that family. And there's a moment there where he's like, wants to say something like, maybe I'm not a good guy, I killed somebody, but he lies so he can hang out with the family and get some food, even though Venom throws it away. But he straight up, it doesn't have any impact. Like, there's not a point later in the story where Eddie faces that and like, hey, I'm sorry, I killed one of your guys. He drew the gun on me. I didn't mean to. It happened, and I'm gonna have to live with that. There's no acceptance in a way of Eddie with that. So when there isn't a moment of growth because of an act in a film, I wonder why it's in there. So maybe you guys can shine some light on that for me too. Eddie killing the guard, like, what did that really do to Eddie other than just put a little bit of blood on his hands that he doesn't really ever kind of atone for in a way? So I don't know. I'm curious, because the person who really tries to atone for sins and mistakes is the symbiote. But even that, the symbiote knows it left slivers of itself out there. So it knows even though it's sacrificing itself, there's still a chance it will live again in some form. So yeah, I don't know. Let me think. Or let me hear what you guys think. But yeah, you prefer they use Xenophages instead of Grendels. I do too. The Grendels, I think, would have been a little too complicated. I think the Xenophages were cool. I thought they were really awesome looking. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of that. I didn't understand how it just happened that all those symbiotes were compatible with the first human they connected to. Yeah, we'll get into that too. That's a good point, Jen. I wasn't sure about that either. I thought there had to be a process. And then I thought, well, maybe they didn't really bond with them. Maybe they just jumped on him real quick, kind of how like the symbiote in the first movie jumped on the dog and then jumped on someone else, or the way Venom jumped on Sadie in the and became She-Venom temporarily, or even Anne in the first movie. Like, it seems like the symbiote can bond, or not bond, but just join with someone in a way without bonding. And that's what I think is happening at the end. That's my no prize for explaining that. But let me know if you feel differently. But I feel like the other movies show enough, like in the second film when the symbiote is going from person to person, Mrs. Chen and other people, I don't think they're all compatible to bond with Venom in particular, but yet Venom was able to briefly be a part of them and then leave them, and they didn't like suffer any major damages. So that's what I'm thinking is happening at the end with the symbiotes, is that they're just attaching to the closest people just to help fight back without, really bonding with them, if that makes sense. Andrew said, I wish Eddie killing the guard had more impact. That wasn't him justifying it as symbiote did it or Venom did it. It was Eddie pulling the trigger. Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Like, the symbiote is the one who makes the sacrifice at the end of the film, and it's doing it because of, it's trying to protect Eddie. It feels bad for things it has done to an extent in their life together. And so there's a little bit of that where it's like it's kind of paying its, taking its penance in a way while also making a heroic sacrifice. And Eddie doesn't have a moment like that, and he's the one who killed that guy. So, and like I said, it's not a big deal. He was just defending himself in a way, but I feel like there should have been some type of like closure on that paid off in some way. Yeah, because he's Catholic. I mean, yeah, there's a couple things. He was raised Catholic, so there should have been some kind of payoff of him getting forgiveness from someone. Because Rex is like, you killed one of my guys. But then even Rex gets a moment where Rex accidentally kills a scientist who bonded with one of the symbiotes at the end. And he gets his moment to take penance for that by getting hit with the acid at the end and helping the Venom symbiote destroy the Xenop Fages. So even to me, like, Rex even gets a moment like that, but Eddie doesn't. So I'm placing my bets on the green symbiote being the Tyrannosaurus one from the start of Donny Cates' run. Oh, that's true. I didn't even think about that. That's a good call, actually, Swordsman. That's a really good call. Yeah, so we'll call him Tyrannosaurus. That's cool. But so Area 51, Area 55, we got the military, we got Rex. We have the other symbiotes get introduced. You get to see that there's a secret lab in Area 55, and that Rex has a secret boss, someone who is either Life Foundation or works for the Umbrella Corporation, since it's Sony. There's something going on there where there's someone giving orders to Rex, and Rex is really wanting to not follow the typical orders that he has to follow, because now that Mulligan exposition dumped on them and let them know that symbiotes are here as refugees and that the Xenop Fages are here to kill them and looking for a codex, Rex just wants to kill Venom. He's like, if we kill this thing, we'll stop this invasion. So it gives Rex a point of view for sure, but he has a secret boss now that he's talking to. So I don't think that secret boss was Dr. Dan Lewis, because this happens right after Let There Be Carnage. So there's no way Dan is in that chapel with Anne in San Francisco and then became a dark cabinet boss of some kind. So I'm thinking this person is either a resurrected Carlton Drake, or it's like a secret thing that they're going to tie into Kraven somehow. Who knows? But it's a shadow organization for sure. And who knows? Maybe it's the one that's going to put together the Sinister Six, or in some way, or the Sony version of them. They do mention the Six in this movie, but that's the 6 guards that are kind of like the jury that take orders from Rex. But they call them the 6, including a guy named Thompson. So I thought that was really cool that they mentioned a guy named Thompson, and that later in the movie, in the final battle, he gets his legs eaten off by a Xenophage, and they're able to save him. So straight up, like in a war scenario, he's getting dragged away, just like Flash Thompson in the comic books did. So they're already, to me, setting up a potential for, or there's enough there to set up. I don't know if they're doing it, to make an Agent Venom movie, but you could now with that. You could have that set up. And that'd be cool if Joe Manganiello ends up coming back as Flash Thompson to play Agent Venom in the Secret Wars movie, because they could tie it to this movie now, that would be cool. So yeah, we talked about the plane scene, which is cool. The horse scene, I love the horse scene. So awesome. That was so much fun seeing him ride that horse and kind of mimicking that first movie where he gets thrown off and the symbiote pulls him back down. The whole fight in the water that apparently they filmed for a couple weeks. We saw footage of that. We talked about behind the scenes of that. Very dangerous stunt in some ways to do that, in a lot of ways actually. So it was cool that they pulled that off, and it looked cool on film. I got to say, the Wagner, who was the DP of this movie, worked with Zack Snyder on some of his movies. This movie is clean looking, like it really is. Kelly did a great job directing, but the cinematography in some of the scenes, especially capturing the desert and like that water sequence, like I thought like those can really look flat, and sometimes in some shots they did, to be fair. But there were shots that looked really good, and I was like, wow, okay, yeah, that's Vegas. I thought was shot really well too. So the cinematography I thought was good for sure. Then we get introduced to the family, like I said, that was driving across country. You got Rhys Ifans, who plays the Lizard in the Amazing Spider-Man movies and No Way Home. He shows up as a guy named Martin. And then you have his daughter, Ekko, his son, Leaf, and his wife, Nova. And they're like these hippie type people that are driving across country because the dad really believes in aliens. Martin does, and he wants to see Area 51 before it gets decommissioned. And they are inspired by the family that was on the cross-country trip in Clay McLeod Chapman's separation anxiety miniseries from, I think it was King in Black or Absolute Carnage or one of those. So he's credited in the film. Him and his artist are credited in the film because this movie pulled from his comic book. So that family of four is literally pulled, inspired by that family from that comic series. So I thought that was cool. And I think Kelly or someone else confirmed that too. And Clay himself confirmed that, and especially with his name in the credits, that confirms it. So it was kind of neat to see that, again, more recent stuff being pulled into this book to be used, or into this film to be used from different books. But the Eddie killing thing, yeah, like I said, I don't know if it didn't really feel like that impact. But then towards the end of the second, or kind of middle way through the second act, they're driving to Vegas. And that's pretty much where most of the last half of the movie takes place. It's Vegas and then into Area 55. But let me catch up on some of the comments here and see what you guys are saying. And sorry if I'm missing comments. I apologize. If there's anything you really want me to read, just spam it in there a couple times and I'll try to get to it. It does come off later, though. It's the whole reason the third act happens. Rex wants to kill Eddie, because of which then Sadie gives Eddie back the symbiote, which alerts the Xenop Phage. Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, and there are some things that organically happen in this movie that I'm kind of like, okay, I can buy this a little bit. But then there are some things that are just like feel jumbled. Like Eddie kills, but then it really doesn't make an impact on certain things. And there was something else I had, like I think I wrote down, maybe I'll come across it when I'm going through the notes, but there was something else I had thought of that I was like, that seems like another, like you said earlier about the script being like feeling like two scripts. It's like, well, we have this idea we have of Eddie killing an innocent person or killing a person and feeling bad about it. And that's going to be like a plot point. And then we also have this other plot point where he's going to meet with this family and he's going to, the symbiote and him are going to see that, it's kind of like their Logan moment, right? Where they're eating dinner with the family. They're having this peace, like, and they're on the run. Their life has been chaotic since they met. And they have this moment of peace. Even a hint at, Dylan in a way, where the symbiote says, Eddie, I think you would have made a good father because he lied to the kid to make the kid feel safe. And it shows that there's still a good guy in Eddie, despite, how he feels about killing that guy. But like I said, there was still no closure really to that. It just showed us what we already knew, which is Eddie is a good guy. He's just, just misguided sometimes. Same with the symbiote. But I think the symbiote showed a real selfless growth by the end, and Eddie, a little bit, but not as much, I feel, as the symbiote did. Eddie has nothing to atone for, in my opinion. It was pure self-defense. No, I'm not. You're then he shouldn't have been too bothered by it. Then, like he should have. That's what I'm saying. Is if that's the case, then Alcatraz, then he should have said, "Hey, look, I'm sorry for what happened, but it was self-defense." Like if that's his stance on it. What I'm saying is he seems to feel bad for it and then feels nothing the rest of the movie. So I'm not just talking about atonement. I'm talking about addressing something, addressing a feeling that was left hanging there. And that feeling was he regretted it, and on some level. So I agree that there's a version where he doesn't have to atone for anything, but something should still be addressed. So I disagree with you on that one. But as far as like structuring a story and a character, I feel like, something, and who knows? I mean, I saw the movie twice, but maybe there was a line he said to Rex at some point, an ADR line that I might have missed, where he says, something to him that is inferring to that. So it's possible I missed something too. That's why I'm asking for, your opinion too, because if you guys heard something I didn't that buttons that up a little bit, then then I'm like, oh, okay, cool, I missed that. But as far as like atonement, I mean, like, yeah, I don't know. If there's nothing to atone for, he shouldn't have felt bad for it, I guess, because it was self-defense. Or he should have found a different way to process that, maybe is a better way to say that. Um, I guess Riot, Bluey, and Scream weren't accepting type. Yeah, so I mean, Scream, I didn't. You're talking about the first film, right? Yeah, so like, or are you? Because Scream is not in this film, right? Like that would have been great to show Scream, but they did not do Scream. There was a yellow symbiote in the first film that a lot of people assume was Scream, so maybe she already died in the first film without finding a perfect host. But it's a shame we never got to see Scream on film. That's a big shame. But I will go over the symbiotes. I'll talk about the ones that did show up here in a minute. Regarding compatibility, agree with you. The symbiotes aren't compatible, but they can survive long enough to act without being so long it hurts them. That's what I thought, Andrew. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too with that. But the compatibility thing was abandoned after 2018. I guess that's true too. They did kind of just drop that story point in that movie. I think Eddie killing the guard was pure self-defense. 100%. I mean, and showed he had remorse for it. The other reason for killing was to motivate Rex to want to kill Eddie. I mean, I agree with all that, but again, I still feel like there should have been something afterwards, because he did feel bad. He takes a moment to go, we killed a guy. Holy crap, we killed a guy. And the symbiote does say, well, I tried to get to you, man, but it was just self-defense, wasn't it? And they just kind of leave it there. And then he goes and meets the family right after, and he kind of hides that from them in a way. So it just felt emotionally jarring to go from one to the one thing where he seemed like he's going to try to deal with that emotion, and then go right to a scene where he bottles it up and then never address it again for the rest of the film. So, but yeah, also blow himself in the symbiote up with the, yeah, for sure. Alternate universe Wesker, because Sony, yeah, the guy, the Shadow Corporation guy. Yeah, it's Wesker from the Raccoon City remake, that stupid movie that came out a couple years ago, where they put the first and second, the stories of the first two games together. I heard Dan was credited. Any truth to that? Yes, Dan is credited. He's in the credits of the movie. And I think he appears on a TV screen somewhere. I just don't remember where, but I think he appears on a TV screen. Either that, or they filmed a scene with him and they cut it. So I don't know. I don't know, but I think he appeared on a TV screen. But he is credited in the film. Yeah, he's the secret villain, making sure Dylan was never born. That's amazing. I thought it was a female soldier that Eddie killed. I think it was a guy. I think. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong on that one. I thought it was a guy. But then again, I don't know if we even saw their face, so it's possible. I think they still had their mask on, right? Or did they take their mask off? Because they were underwater, like trying to breathe, I think. But I think he sees their eyes for a moment. Maybe it was a girl. I apologize if I don't know if I stated if it was a guy or not, but I have in my notes that he killed a soldier. So if I inferred guy and it was a girl, then yeah, maybe it was a female soldier. Another fun reference too is that Sadie Christmas is also Lasher, which is in Separation Anxiety. The daughter Sadie is Lasher. Right, exactly. So that's another character name that gets recycled, but that is true. So we'll get into the final act here. I'm going to talk about Vegas here in a minute, but I just want to catch up on these comments because you guys are bringing up good points here. Ekko was based on Andy Benton. No, Ekko was based on the family of four. She was more based on Sadie, really, actually, but the family of four from that Separation Anxiety run. As far as I know, she was not based on Andy at all. Because if that were true, the creator of Andy Benton would have been credited at the end of the movie, which I don't think they were. Eddie didn't feel remorse because the symbiote blocked it out of his memory. Give me my no prize. Yeah, I mean, the symbiote does do stuff like that in the comics, but that's funny, though. There's your no prize. I think most people would feel guilty for killing, even in self-defense, which is why it should be addressed at a certain point later in the film as a way of your character growth. So I'm not. My stance remains. Of course, most people would feel guilty. Earlier, when I was saying either don't feel as bad about it and excuse it as self-defense, like you were stating, or if you feel bad about it, how does that affect the character and a decision he makes later on in the film? So, and the answer could be, hey, at the end, he saved Thompson or or he saved a soldier who could have died, but he saved them as a way to, you know, and he does. He saves a ton of soldiers at the end. So that could be something where that could be the answer, where it's like, hey, the way that is buttoned up is that Eddie at the end of the film with the Venom symbiote, they save but it should have been Eddie himself doing it without the symbiote saving somebody. That would have made more of an impact. But you can argue that him with the symbiote at the end saving people and soldiers and the family, that is him in a sense growing, but he was already a lethal protector protecting people in previous films. So it's, I don't know, it's back and forth. I mean, I don't know. I feel like there could have, again, do we want deeper character stuff or do we want just mindless fun? And I think this movie is trying to strike a balance of a little bit of both. So I'm not over critical of this point that Alcatraz is bringing up, or bouncing back and forth with me on. But I still feel like they touch on it enough to where I would have liked to seen a little bit more personally. Sorry, speaking of Scream, sorry, just jumping forward a bit. Dr. Pina had no business being named that and should have been Scream instead. It would have been far more comic accurate. Yeah, so if she was Donna Diego, I guess. But I mean, Donna Diego, was she a scientist? I can't even remember. Maybe she was. I don't remember her background too much. But yeah, I mean, it would have been cool to see Scream. I know. I mean, Agony, she looked fine as Agony too. But yeah, maybe because they already had Lasher as a female in this one, and also Agony, they were just like, well, we're not going to do Scream. But Scream is such an, I mean, she's in the Spider-Man ride for crying out loud at Universal. Like, she's pretty iconic female symbiote, even more so I think than She-Venom or any other female symbiote. So I just know there's a big fan base out there that would have liked to seen Scream in this. Really, Patricia's right there from the Shiver series. Oh yeah, Patricia, that's true too. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, good old Patricia. That's right. I feel Dr. Payne was Agony because there was purple symbiote in the comics who was electricity powers called Payback. Did Agony have electric powers in the comics? I don't know if I remember that. Maybe she did. Was her host a scientist? I don't know. Seek, long time no see. How are you? Hey, what's up, Drake? How's it going, dude? I'm doing well. How you been? We do see their face. It floats off. So is it a girl? It was a girl? Okay. So the soldier that Eddie killed is a girl. Oh man, that's I mean, either way, killing either soldier was already an impactful moment, but again, just something to button up later. The way it leads to the third act, all because Venom wanted to dance with Fairy Godmother. Let's talk about that. Yeah, so so now that we've kind of gone back and forth on that one topic, which I'm glad because it's like I thought that was enough to make a note on. So I'm glad you guys have passionate feelings about the self-defense thing too. I mean, I'm not arguing it was self-defense, 100%. I know it was. And even the symbiote says it was, but like I said, just looking for that little tag to see how that helps Eddie grow at a certain point. And I didn't feel like it was there in the film. But so they go to Vegas. He rides with this family. They go to Vegas. The family drops him off. They go off to Area 51 to check it out and scope it out as after it's been decommissioned and everything got moved to Area 55. And then Eddie is in Vegas. He knocks out Jake Tamori, his own stunt double, and takes his suit on. So I was always wondering that because in the movies, the symbiote does become Eddie's clothes, but then in this one, Eddie had to dress in the tuxedo. I'm like, why doesn't the symbiote just replicate the tuxedo? Can it replicate clothes, or does it just go on top of the clothes Eddie's already in? And I think that's more the logic in these movies. It never really became his hoodie in the first film. It just blended into the hoodie. So whatever clothes he was wearing, it would come from that. So it wasn't like it was imitating the clothes. So they never really established that in this film, or in these films, that the symbiote can turn into those things, as far as I remember. So, but Eddie gets the tuxedo. Then when he goes back, he sees our friend Otis Winston, who is the new stand-in guy, because the symbiote knocked out the first guard with the headbutt, I think, and then slapped Jake. And then now came back, and Otis Winston is there, who has been in all three Venom movies as Donald, the security guard. So he was a Life Foundation guard in the first movie. Then I guess his life went to crap after the Life Foundation went away, and he was homeless in San Francisco in the second movie. And then somehow between the ending of Let There Be Carnage and this scene, he is no longer homeless and is in San Francisco and got back on his feet and is a welcoming guy at the casino. So that's pretty fun. But Eddie does. He sees Mrs. Chen. They get all excited for seeing her. Remember, the symbiote bonded with Mrs. Chen, so even briefly. So it kind of has a friendship with her too, and she knows about him. And then he decides, you know what? I know the world's at stake. I know everything's here. You know, we could die at any moment, but I'm going to turn into Venom fully and dance with Mrs. Chen. And it's so silly. Like, there's no logic to that at all, other than to just get a dance scene in and do something just kind of tongue-in-cheeky and silly. But it really does, like, you're like, how stupid are you, symbiote? Because you are literally now just brought the end of the world and danger to Mrs. Chen. But then he immediately goes back into Eddie, and the Xenophage can't see him. But unfortunately, the Life Foundation people show up too, and they want their revenge on Eddie for what, killing the guard and everything. So Rex is even more motivated, like you said. I understand why the guard got killed. It motivates Rex, and it kind of blinds him with anger to make really brash decisions and to take over control of Area 55 and make all the shots now. And now he just wants to kill all these symbiotes, especially the one with the Codex, which is Eddie and Venom. And he just has to kill one of them, apparently. So they go capture him. They detach the symbiote, apparently, somehow, or it gets out, I guess. But they bring Eddie back to Area 55, which I'm like, if they need to kill them, the world's at stake. Why don't they just kill Eddie? I don't know. So there's a little bit of a logic leap there, I guess. I guess there's kind of a reason. I think they want to just kill the symbiote. But Rex does shoot Eddie. And so he's like, all right, now that you're not here with the symbiote anymore, I am just going to kill you because you killed one of my guards. And now he's just blinded by hate, but he also wants to protect the world. So I guess, I don't know why they bring him back to kill him. They should have just killed him there in Vegas, but they bring him back, they separate him from the suit, and then boom, Rex shoots Eddie. And just as that happens, Sadie gets revealed that the symbiote has gotten away from its, hold wherever it was in Area 55 or wherever it was hiding, and it bonded to her, and it jumps over from her, turns her into She-Venom, and they save Eddie together. So I thought that was cool. It was a cool, quick moment. I was like, oh man. And then, but once Eddie and the symbiote bonded, the Xenophage was there seconds later, killing security guys and everything. So yeah, before we get into the final act and all the other symbiotes, now that we're here at this point, I'd love to hear what, I'll catch up on more comments here. Yeah, Lasher saved Thompson. I feel it should have been Eddie. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that would have been a nice button for me if Eddie, without a symbiote, was the one, even with a symbiote, I guess, but if Eddie grabbed him and said, I got you, soldier, and pulled him away, I felt like, and then Rex saw it. I think that would have helped be that's enough of a button that takes 3 seconds to show that would have made me not have any criticism over that. I guess that's a great way to say it with Eddie doing that with Thompson. Let's see, the way it leads up with the Mrs. Chen thing. Yeah, so yeah, that was so silly though. I mean, I love seeing Mrs. Chen, don't get me wrong, but I'm like, talk about just making a dumb decision that puts the whole world at danger, for sure. Yeah, and considering their friendship in the comics, that would have been a cool moment to, whether you see who's playing Thompson or not, but just have Eddie have that moment where he looks down at him to pull him to safety. That would have been cool. Phage was pretty cool. Yeah, we're gonna talk about Phage. That was neat to see Phage. I probably could enjoy the dancing more if the Codex plotline wasn't as risky. That's how I feel about that. Yeah, it should have been. Imagine starting an apocalyptic event because you wanted to dance with Mrs. Chen. I mean, yeah, she's a cute older lady, but I mean, still, they were happy to see their friend again, and I totally get that. But it put her in danger. Even if you are thinking not thinking about the world, Venom had to know, hey, I'm dancing with my friend here. By dancing with her, I'm putting her in danger. But I think they didn't want Eddie to be the one to dance with her because they didn't want people to think there was a love story there, because people still want Eddie and Anne to get back together. So I think that's why they did it. It was more of the symbiote was dancing with his friend, and I totally get that. But but it accelerates the plot though. It is a stupid thing for the symbiote to do, but again, Eddie and the symbiote don't always make the best decisions either. So you could argue it that way too. Last bit of fun in his life. I mean, yeah, there's that too. I mean, exactly. It knew the end is possibly near, and it just saw an opportunity to just cut loose. So you can explain it a bunch of different ways. I still thought it was a little silly, but I did like seeing Mrs. Chen again. I want to know what the big green and purple symbiote next to Phage was. So that was hybrid. I think we're gonna get into that. I know Swordsman says the Madness maybe, but I think that was their version of hybrid. Otis shared behind the scenes footage of the mocap dancing. That's funny, yeah, because I think was he the one wearing the head or something? Because I know he did some mocap stuff in the second film too, as Venom. Um, the swords, yeah, still Venom though. Yeah, I find it funny how the Agony and She Venom got revealed as part of Fortnite skins, got less screen time than most of their symbiotes of the film. They do. Agony has very little screen time, very very little. Lasher got a ton though. I'm surprised we didn't get a Lasher skin. I am glad we got a She Venom skin because I was like, oh, that's cool. That you could easily say that's the Anne skin from the first movie, even though it was a different person in this one, but still, I thought that was cool. But yeah, it was a weird thing because people were writing me going, dude, did you see they spoiled Agony? They spoiled Agony, and I'm like really trying not to like let anyone like I didn't want to be like, oh man, yeah, they spoiled Agony. So I was playing coy about the Agony character, and like I was like, oh man, yeah, that's interesting that they picked her out of all the Life Foundation symbiotes. Like I was trying to sound neutral, but sometimes people can see right through that crap. But I was trying not to just go like, yeah, they did. They confirmed Agony. I didn't want to like, give people that. Again, I want people to get some surprises in films, but yeah, it was weird of Fortnite to kind of leak that information like that. The Codex is only released with Eddie, hence why the Venom horse worked, why it bonded to Sadie, etc. Exactly, yeah. So it being bonded to Sadie, it being bonded to horse, none of that matters. That does not that bring the Codex. It's only when it's bonded with Eddie in that way because Eddie's the one it brought back to life in the first film. Eddie full on died in the first film, and the symbiote brought it back to life. I saw somebody say there was a plot hole in this one, which there's some things you could argue in this one, but I didn't think the Codex thing was a plot hole in that sense because that one guard gets shot, and then that symbiote bonds to him immediately. And I'm like, yeah, well, that's it. It's just like Eddie being shot in this movie, and the She Venom symbiote came to him and made him Venom. Like he didn't die yet. It's just the shot and the wound, but he's not dead yet. His brain didn't stop. His heart didn't stop. So it's only when you're fully dead and the symbiote resurrects you does it create a Codex. That's the logic of the movie. I know that's different than the comics, really, but that's the film logic at least. And it worked in that regard. I didn't think anything that happened in the movie, discredited that, I guess. Alcatraz says, I mean, I love the dancing, but I can't help but agree. If given enough time with the brain, we'll find a way to explain it. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I know it's like I liked it. It's fine. It was fun. But I'm sitting there going like, that's so dumb. Like I was watching the movie, especially the second time too, and I'm like, this is so dumb. Why is the symbiote doing that? But it's Eddie. It's in Vegas. It starts gambling. It sees Mrs. Chen, his old friend. Like it just kind of has like a moment where it just kind of doesn't really think, and I guess that is in character, in a way too. Did anyone catch Flash Thompson cameo? Yeah, we already talked about that, Nova. Welcome to the stream. How's it going? Yeah, we just talked about that a few minutes ago and how we would have liked to seen Eddie since he killed a guard earlier. And we would have liked to seen him save Thompson, be the one to save Thompson. Lasher, I think, was the one who did it, like someone said, but it would have been cool to see Eddie, and that would have buttoned that up, for me, at least, for a character moment. But Eddie does save a lot of guards, like I say, at the end. So you can still argue that is a growth in a way, but I feel like it would have been more personal if it was Eddie pulling a single guard to safety like that. So yeah, but I'm with you on that, Alcatraz. More so in this movie, it really showed how much control the symbiote had over Eddie. It does, yeah, for sure. It really does. I noticed in T-Spot there's a cutscene before the dance of Eddie telling Miss Chen what's been happening. Yeah, there's a few deleted and edited down scenes in the film. I'm hoping the Blu-ray will have them. Yeah, there's a couple. Most of them are dialogue driven like that though. So yeah, I hope those show up on the Blu-ray though. Yeah, he wore that reference head. Oh yeah, cool. Otis did. Nice. That never happens in the film when they chat. Yeah, exactly. But I think that will be if they save. I mean, I'm sure that footage is there, but that'll be a good thing to put on the Blu-ray. Those kind of stuff. Juno Temple wants an Agony spinoff. That's cool. I mean, they set up her character. I would like to see her in a film with Agent Venom, like they bring in the Thompson character, and find out what happened to Toxin, because the real Toxin symbiote is out there in San Francisco somewhere. So it'd be cool to see what happened to the son of Venom and Carnage. It'll also be cool to see these little slivers, because we're going to talk about the post-credit scene soon. But let's talk about the symbiote. So the final battle here, we talked about Thompson getting his legs ripped off, being saved. The symbiotes get freed. The Xenophages are attacking. Null learns, okay, the Codex is on Earth. I'm sending everything I got. He doesn't really send everything. He sends like 5 Xenophages down to Earth. One really was enough. You couldn't kill these things. They shredded the first one, and then it came right back together. So it's not like you could kill these things super easily. But they did set up earlier in the film that they were decommissioning Area 51, but the one thing they had to take their time on was the acid bath towers, because those weren't easily, destroyed. So they had to bring trucks in to drain them or whatever. So they do establish that earlier in the film, and I knew that was going to probably be a plot point later to kill some kind of monster. And here it's for the Xenophage. So set up and payoff. I like that kind of stuff in movies. So Rex, like I said, he kind of went too far. He kills a symbiote that's bonded to one of his scientists, and Sadie is like, "Why'd you do that? He's just trying to help." And I think that's the moment Rex starts to turn and realize, okay, I have gone too far, and look at what's happening. My anger has led to some of this. I shot Eddie, and that is the impetus for the Xenophage finding us down here, and I'm just as responsible now for possibly the end of the world. And now I'm killing people that don't deserve to die in my pursuit of saving the world. And I think it revealed that Rex is deep down a good guy, and decides, okay, well, I'm wounded now. I'm going to make a sacrifice and try to help out. And I kind of like that whole thing. So these other symbiotes, they break out, and like I said, I don't think they bond to the humans. I think they just attach to them and move them around like puppets, like we've seen the symbiote do in the previous movies, without fully bonding to someone. So we do get these 2 blue and purple symbiotes that form like brothers, or like twins, I guess, and they form together and make hybrid. I believe it's hybrid, or their version of hybrid. So we have hybrid. We had a white symbiote, which you could argue is anti-venom. It's female, but it's white, and it has the black veins on it. So it's kind of the inverted venom. So I'm going to call that one anti-venom for now. There is Lasher, obviously bonds with Sadie. I don't really know what the symbiote that bonded with Mulligan is, but that was a complete waste. I thought Mulligan was going to have a much bigger part. Maybe Toxin would come back at some point and bond with them, knowing that the world was going to end or something. But that shows why Patrick Mulligan didn't have a codex. His original symbiote left him for dead, and the Life Foundation. But Area 55, they brought his body there, still alive, and bonded him to a symbiote that did save him, but not from death, just prevented him from dying. So and healed his wounds. So again, no codex. He doesn't have a codex on him. He didn't die. But I don't know what his symbiote was called, but it gets killed really quick. He jumps out and he makes a sacrifice to save Eddie and buy him some more time, and he gets sucked up and spit out by the Xenophage wood chipper. But Lasher is there with Sadie Christmas. Phage, gold symbiote shows up. Now there is a fire symbiote. I saw someone online call this symbiote Rascal, aka the Red Goblin, because it was immune to fire, and the Red Goblin kind of mouth has that fiery look with the smoke coming out of it. This one had a chest that was smoking with fire in a way, and it was immune to fire. So I saw someone online call that Rascal. I mean, it's a good. I don't think any of these symbiotes really have names other than Agony and Lasher, and maybe Phage, but we're just kind of going off of what we think based on who they could be inspired from the comics. So it's possible that one is Rascal, possibly, and then Agony, shows up. So those are the main symbiotes that come in and help Venom at the end, and they all get some cool moments. I mean, it does kind of feel like a jumbled mess at times, but seeing them fight these fights against these Xenophages was pretty neat. I actually really liked the battles at the end of the movie. I thought they were really fun to watch. Thank God the exposition acid bath was at Area 51. Yeah, I know. They totally set it up early in the film, too. They set up that and the cockroach. They mentioned the acid bath thing, and then soon after they say, yeah, pretty much anything in this area will die except the cockroaches. And it's such a setup for the post-credit scene, too. Yeah, for sure. So hold on, let me go back. I saw a Morbius comment. I want to read it. it wasn't Fortnite spoiling a comic movie, it would have been Lego. I mean, that's true too, Eddie's mullet. That's for sure. But as far as the Agony spinoff, I mean, yeah, I could see that, but I'd like to see some of the other characters in it. I'd like to find out what happened to Toxin in it, and I'd like to see Agent Venom in it too. Patrick Mulligan was not dead. With the symbiote healing him properly, wouldn't that technically make him a Codex? No, he was not dead. He was still blinking and moving and talking, mumbling when they brought him in. He was still alive. So no, he has to. His heart has to stop. Everything has to die, and he has to be bonded. So if Toxin prevented him from dying, and then Toxin left him, maybe Toxin left him because together they form a Codex, and Toxin didn't want Null to come down and do that. So maybe Toxin did save Mulligan enough, but then left him, and then this new symbiote healed the wounds he had. So maybe there would have been a Codex if he stayed bonded to Toxin. But since he didn't, and he was with this new one did not resuscitate him from death. So Eddie's mullet, well, the SSMU doesn't get any sets, just Spider-Verse now. I mean, yeah, that's true. I know, I would have loved to get a Venom movie Lego set. That would have been cool. Or a trade. I would love a trading card set. I was thinking about this. I'm like, I know Topps and everything, and Fanatics is gonna make the cards now, but I don't know if they can get the license to the Sony movies. But I would love, a dream job for me would be to be the one in charge of picking the shots from all three movies. I actually already mapped out how I would do this. I mapped out a Venom trading card series for all three movies, and it would be 90 cards, and I would pull 30 images from each movie to make a 90 card base set, and then some extra images to make insert and parallel cards. The thing is those should release timely if they can, and come out around the time of the movies. So maybe it's pointless to do it now, but I think it would be cool to do a Venom, the trilogy trading card set, pick some cool shots from each film, and make like just a really fun set with maybe a couple autographs, in there, if they can get some autographs from all three films, get some of the actors who played different characters and Tom and stuff, and and just come up with some insert sets. But I have a thing I'm mapping out to create something like that. I don't know who I can pitch that to at Fanatics or whatever, but yeah, I also have to be careful. I work for Fanatics now, so kind of any idea I have could just be their idea now. So I have to be careful who I show that plan to. I would love Venom 1 Rocket Fight, 2 Church set, and 3 Area 55 set. That would be cool to do one from each film, and that way you can squeeze in like a couple different symbiotes. That'd be awesome. The first one I would do the Rocket set. I would have Anne, Eddie, Venom, She-Venom, and Riot. And then in the second, you would have the Church with Shriek, Carnage, Cletus, Eddie, the symbiote, Venom, and maybe Dr. Dan. And then I don't know if you could do the church though. Lego might have a thing about doing it as a church, but maybe they could do the rooftop with the bell and not show any crosses or anything, because I think Lego has some kind of rule against that. And then Area 55 would be cool because you could do a bigger set with more symbiotes in it. That'd be very cool, like Agony, Lasher, Phage, and all them. I did get chills when Venom said "big mistake." Yeah, that's cool. It was a good line. I mean, Tom, I thought was so fun in this movie. The movie was originally 2 hours and 20 minutes. Where'd you hear that at? That's interesting. Doesn't surprise me though. I think most of these Venom movies had a length of at least 2 hours, and they got edited down, which is a shame. I mean, I like to see, like, if it tells the story, if it's superfluous stuff that, like in the first movie, they cut a scene where Eddie smashed a car apart, or the Venom symbiote smashed a car apart. I'm like, okay, maybe you didn't really need that. Doesn't really affect the story too much. But there were a couple other scenes that I thought, oh, this would have been fun to have in the movie. I think it does say something about the character, and they cut those scenes anyway. So, yeah, editing stuff is not always easy. That's for sure. Deciding what to cut and what not to cut. Morbius didn't get any deleted scenes, so I'm scared this one won't either. I mean, but Morbius, I mean, that's interesting though that it didn't. I'm sure there are deleted scenes from Morbius, but I believe Sony planned to continue Venom with Flash, and they might pull a move from the comics and have Eddie bond with Toxin for a Toxin trilogy. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's I can tell you right now, nobody knows what Sony's plans are because we're gonna have to see how this movie does. We're after 2 weekends. This movie's over $300 million, which is good. It's coming up to another weekend now. I think it's probably going to end somewhere between the $400 and $500 million range. If it can get over 500 million, that'd be amazing because that would put it almost in league with Let There Be Carnage, which made like $566 million worldwide. But if it falls short at the 400 million, it's still good for the movie considering the budget. But that shows a decrease, a massive decrease in interest from a mass audience standpoint. Certainly not the fans, but from a mass audience standpoint. And that would probably make them hesitant to go forward with a project called Toxin if Venom is performing less and less. Because Venom is a household name, Toxin isn't. So, yeah. So I'd be curious. So I don't know. We'll have to see how, Cletus, how Craven does. Let's see how Craven does before they probably make any other plans. Right now they have Spider-Man Noir, which so far behind the scenes shots looks good. I like the costume. So we'll see. We'll see what Sony is going to try. Though I think the white one was the white symbiote from Flash's Space Knight series. I mean, but to me it was an inverted Venom. It was white with black veins. So that is like white Venom with black, spider symbol. It's anti, it's, the negative flip. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, you could make that argument, I think, but I don't think they don't reference. I don't think they reference Dan Slott either, though. He's the one who created Anti-Venom. So did they name the writer Oliver or whatever his name is, the artist on Space Knight? Because that's where I would look. It could just be that they were like, oh, it's just a white symbiote. That's what I think it really is. I don't think these characters really have names. Besides Lasher and Agony, definitely. Phage, I'm not so sure about. It just looks like Phage, the color of Phage. But Hybrid, Anti-Venom, and the Rascal one, I think they were just trying to just make them look different. So I don't know if they really are fully inspired by anyone. Seek's favorite scene was Mulligan getting wood chippered. That was funny, but it caught me off guard. But I also was like, oh, so that's it? That guy just showed up. That Stephen Graham just showed up to just give a few scenes of exposition, and then that's all his going to contribute to this movie. So I was a little disappointed by that also. But yeah, not my favorite scene, but I appreciate the joke. Well, Venom 3 in Taiwan made Venom 3 animal cards. Did they really? Oh, that's kind of fun. Sony in Taiwan did. Okay, I gotcha. I like how some of the symbiotes had different shapes, sizes, and I guess attributes. The fire one is my favorite. Georgie says, yeah. So that, like I said, I think some people were referring to that one online as Rascal, even though it's most likely not Rascal, but for lack of they didn't name it in the film, so we can kind of have fun with whatever. Kind of like what he was saying about the white symbiote. It could be Anti-Venom, it could be the one from Space Knight. It really just could be, or it's its own thing, whatever. Do we think the upcoming Venom game will have much influence from the films? A+ movie costume for Venom would be great. Oh yeah, the Venom, are they still doing that? I hope they do in a way, but I also hope they don't. I'll be honest, I didn't really like the story they told with Venom too much in the video game. I didn't think the Harry thing elevated it to a level to where I really liked it. I'm not a super hater of it. I know some people that in the Venom community are just full on against that. I didn't love it. I think it did okay and certainly gave me some cool moments. Like when I played as Venom and ate Kraven's head off in Times Square, I loved that. I was like, this is awesome. But that was at the point where I thought, okay, where is this going to go? If it's not going to lead to Eddie, which at that point of the game, I figured it wasn't gonna, I was like, how are they going to tie this in and make it really a Harry thing? And by the end, I felt like Harry was just this receptacle in a way for the symbiote to use him. And he starts the game, he ends the first game in a bat tank, kind of unconscious, right? And then he ends the second game in a bed unconscious. So I'm kind of like, I think Harry's story still has more to go in the next game. I think you're going to probably see Harry come back with the Oz formula now, and I think you'll see a cool arc with Harry in the third game. So I hope that means the symbiote is going to, go somewhere else, to Eddie or something. And I'll be interested to see how they do the solo game now. for sure. They just named all the artists and creators for Venom and Donny Cates. It was finally established in Donnie's run that Eddie was an only child. Yeah, I know it was. Even though there was, he did have a sister for a while in continuity, but they did change that. It was, I guess, something the symbiote imprinted. He added a sibling in Eddie's past that also tormented Eddie to a degree. I guess in a way to make Eddie feel more safe with the symbiote, I guess. Which is weird because Eddie already had a tormentor as a kid. He had his father. So why would the symbiote even need to do that? I don't know. And this is where I feel like Donnie's understanding of that kind of writing is like maybe he dropped the ball, in my opinion, on some of that stuff. Because I don't think he needed to really retcon a sister or even say that when Eddie already had a father figure that was tormenting him. And that's enough to execute what you're trying to do, with the symbiote. Morbius was butchered in the editing room. The entire ending was changed, and there was a lot of action and much needed expedition scenes cut. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's so much on that chopping floor of that film. I would add Eddie's brother as a skin too. Yes, Eddie has a brother and can work for an alternate skin for Venom 2 being purplish and stuff. Yes, Eddie has a brother. Let's see. I wasn't aware too. A Venom site at Twitter talked about it. Yeah, Venom site and Bizarnage. I think Bizarnage runs that. Cool guy. Always been really nice to us. And so has the Venom site. Because, I was thinking about that when this channel started to grow and more Venom fans were coming here. I kept thinking about the Venom site because I'm like, well, that's where I know of people that go and get Venom news. And I'm like, would that be a site that would we ever be able to be friends with them on some level? Because I respect what they do. And they've been around a lot longer than us. So when you're entering a community, I was trying to look at who else was in the community that was consistently posting and talking about Tom, about Venom, about Eddie, whatever. I was looking for people, and I was really happy that I was able to become friendly with the Venom site and Bizarnage. Phage wasn't quite spiky enough. That's true. Yeah, for sure. Criticism there. Like me, I despise Spider-Man 2. Yeah, I didn't fully despise it. There's a lot of good in that game, and I had a lot of fun playing it, and the gameplay was a lot of fun. And there was cool Miles moments, not the costume at the end. God, that was terrible. And there was also all the Kraven stuff I loved, and I liked the Cletus Cassidy stuff with the torch and all that. There's a lot in that game I really like. But there's just some monumental Venom stuff I don't like in that game. But hopefully I still think there's room to fix those things moving forward. So if they do a Venom solo game, I don't want it to be, obviously, and it won't be Harry, because they're going to put the Oz formula in him. And so if there's a speck of the symbiote out there, something that's still alive that can bond with Eddie in this universe or make a Venom in that universe, I think that's the way to go. Eddie's fake sister is also when we see Venom's wings for the first time when he chases Nova. That's right. That's where she was first mentioned. And that's true. So I guess the symbiote for years and years since the Nova issue has been messing with him. Eddie having a brother is a very obscure thing that just existed and forgotten about. I even kind of am blanking on the brother thing. I was ready to buy a PlayStation 2. I learned they put symbiote on Harry. I feel like you could still tell the Harry story in that game and do the Oz stuff and make him a goblin. I think I guess maybe, and then he could have done the infecting other people in New York with goblin serum stuff. Maybe that would have been too much like the first game where Doc Ock was trying to poison the city, but the symbiote still did that anyway. So whether you're fighting a bunch of goblin people or a bunch of symbiotes, I think the result ultimately would have been the same. Let's see. Might not make it to full canon, then it's if it's that obscure. Yeah, don't try to figure out what the hell Donnie was thinking. It's not healthy. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Bizarre is just cool. I like him. I like that he got his name from the Amalgam universe too. That's pretty awesome. I'm fairly certain the Venom game will be about Eddie. It's called Lethal Protector 2, supposedly. I know a bunch of stuff leaked. I try to stay away from that stuff because that was a major that affected people's personal lives. Their their personal information got out there in that hack. So I've tried to stay away from that kind of stuff. Even though I don't think anyone at Insomniac, anyone who knows about my channel doesn't like me, because I think a couple years ago I asked if I could record something at Comic-Con from the first video game. It was a trailer. I said, can I record this and just, I won't use the audio, but just have the sound. I mean, just have the visual while I talk over it for a certain thing for my video. And the person there said yes. Now, the person there, I realized, didn't work for Insomniac. They were just like someone who worked for Comic-Con. So maybe they were speaking out of, term. But I held my camera up, got a couple shots, and that was it. And then I filmed them talking at the panel. And then I shared that in a video, and people were like, oh my God, dude, this is footage that's not supposed to be out there. So I took the video down, re-edited it, and then put it up. But unfortunately, at that point, it was the internet. It was too late. People already clipped it and shared it. So I think from that, like, I got on Insomniac's bad list, which is, hey, I made a mistake. If that's the case, it was not malicious. I took it down immediately as soon as I found out. I was at work and people were blowing up our phone, and I was like, I got to go, and something's going on my YouTube account. And so if that's the case, I apologize for it. But it was an accident. Like, I asked someone if I could record, but yeah, I try to reach out a couple times to either get like a review copy, or hey, I'm the Venom vlog. I tried that with Marvel Rivals recently too, and it's funny because Bill Roseman, I knew he used to come into the Lego store I worked at all the time, and great family, great guy, he's an awesome guy. He doesn't get to make a lot of contact decisions, obviously, but I think at one point I said, man, I'd love to, because I was playing the Marvel, me and Eddie's Mullet, we were playing that like Marvel Super Fight game or whatever on the mobile, and I was like, yeah, I'd love to promote this stuff and like be a part of Marvel games, and and show off any games you guys have coming out. And I never really got any feedback or anyone touch base with me on that, so I just assumed not gonna happen. I also tried to get a couple interviews from the Venom The Last Dance, because they were leading up to their release of the film. I had a friend of mine give me contact information to really key people that are in touch with Tom and everyone else, and I was like, these people don't know me. I know a couple people that I can reach out to, but these people don't know me. I would feel really weird writing some stranger, someone's manager or their agent, acting agent or whatever. I would feel really weird going through those channels when I don't know those people. So I reached out to someone and was like, hey, I know you. Do you think I have any shot of maybe getting an interview with a couple key people from Venom The Last Dance? Because I think the viewers of my channel would really love that. And I think it would, even if I can only ask like 2 or 3 questions, per guest, I would just love to do something like that with you guys. And I didn't get a no, but I got like a we'll see, let me check, but then never heard back. And I don't like to press things like that because I don't want to overstep anything. I'm certainly not owed anything. Like, I know someone would probably like look at this and say like, well, like Blue, for example, was like, well, you've done so many episodes of the show. Why wouldn't they do this for you? I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't entitle us to anything. Like, we do this because we love doing it. And look how much we've benefited with our channel growing and the people we've met. And so like, I'm like, we got more than we ever thought we could from doing this show. So no one owes anything to us, but I just thought it would have been cool before we ended the show to bring you guys at least 1 or 2 really cool interviews of people you've always wanted to see me talk to. I even reached out to Donnie Cates in DMs on Twitter, and that's a guy who even offered to come on our show once and never followed up with me. And I know he had personal stuff going on, so again, I didn't want to, reach out to him during those times. But leading up to this film, I reached out to him and I wrote him a really nice message in DM on Twitter, hoping I could get him on the show. And that never happened either. And I was like, man, that would have been nice too, because 6 years ago, his run started 6-7 years ago, and that was near the beginning of our channel. So it would have been a cool bookend, to have him on. But hey, it's all good. Like, I like doing those things for me too, but really for you guys. I think you guys would get a kick out of seeing me talk to some of these people. And that's why I try to do it. But unfortunately, I always strike out. Marvel Rivals, Insomniac, Sony, Donnie Cates, Marvel Comics. Like, no matter who I reach out to, and maybe it's because I'm very critical of some of their work, and It's just, they don't want to, and that's okay too. I mean, it's all right. The show's ending soon. I just wanted to try to do something fun before the end, like that. How ironic, Donnie remembered to retcon Eddie's sister, yet didn't remember it made wings in the same issue. Yeah. Yeah, we talked about that before. It was quite simple, though. It's something Seek won't like. It was to reestablish LP as Eddie's true origin and the Dark Origin as non-canon. It was quite simple, though. It's something Seek won't like. What am I missing? I guess you commented on Eddie's thing. The Venom site website back in the day was great. The Discord, however, not so much. I haven't. I think I tried to join the Discord once, and I'm not a fan of Discord. I feel like every time I've been into a Discord, things get really toxic and weird really fast, and I'm like, I just don't want to be here. Like, yeah, I just didn't want to be there. But yeah, sorry about retconning establish LP as Eddie's true origin. Which one's LP again? Why am I blanking? Yeah, Dark Origin. I get that people see that as a drifting continuity, but the sister thing was still mentioned in Nova, if that's what you're talking about. So retconning Dark Origin, fine, retcon Dark Origin, but the sister still existed in the universe. Doesn't matter if it was mentioned on one page or not, it's part of the canon. So yeah. But yeah, that was kind of messed up. They messed up Venom just to spite you, Seek. No, I don't think that's it at all. I will say though that like I am not liking Venom War. I know I keep promising, like I was going to do the shorts. I was like, oh, I'll just do 1-minute reviews of each issue. I've been reading every issue, all the tie-ins, every single part of Venom War. That book fucking sucks so bad. Great artists on a lot of those books, the spin-offs and the main book of Bond. Amazing artists wasting good artists with awful scripts. Honestly, like, and I know this is going to sound really mean, and this is probably why a lot of people don't write me back. But I feel passionate about this because I was kind of half and half on board when Eddie's Mullet and I first started reading the Al Ewing stuff. I was like, all right, maybe I won't stop with Donny Cates. I'll see what Al Ewing does with this King of Symbiotes thing with Eddie. And I was kind of on board a little bit at the beginning. I was liking the street level stuff a little bit more than the Meridius stuff. But then I started to like some of the Meridius stuff in the middle. And then it just like, I don't know, man. This book, they don't know what to do with Carnage. Everything's just a mess. So my thought on Venom War is I know writing and creating stories and stuff like that. Like I know that's hard to do, but it's not impossible. So it's frustrating to see someone who does have talent like Al Ewing write just the most mediocre, phoned in feeling Venom story ever. I don't like it. I just don't like Venom War. The Zombiotes thing is terrible. They're doing some like, what's her name? Is it Erica Schultz? There's a lady, she's writing the Venomous stuff with Widow and Flash Thompson. That had some cool moments in it. And there were some cool moments in the newest issue of Venom War 4 where Flash showed up. But man, it's just like, I don't know. I can't get into this ending of Al Ewing's run. And I'm certainly not going to probably read all new Venom. Just not into it. Marvel Rivals is great. Had so much fun with the open beta. Venom is great in that game. Yeah, and I was trying to join the open beta. I reached out on Twitter, and then someone told me, hey, DM us. And then I DM'd, and I tried to reach out, and then I tried to go through another channel and another person I knew. I literally tried 4 different ways to get into that beta. And then I tried to just watch the Twitch stream and get codes. And I couldn't even, I put in a code, it was already used. I was like, God dang it. I had the PlayStation on and the Xbox on, and I was trying to just get some footage to share with the Venom vlog audience. And didn't happen. I struck out so many times. Did you see the concept art for Venom 3 had a logo sorts of Venom? I don't know if that was real concept art or not. It looked like an AI image of some kind. It didn't look like concept art to me. So I wasn't sure what it was. So the ending of this film, all the symbiotes come out. They fight the Xenop Fages. They lose. Lasher gets killed. All the symbiotes get killed, except Agony, because Pain is still holding the vial that has Agony in it. And then she sees Sadie left behind and has a flash of her brother and how she was helpless to save her brother, but she wants to save, Sadie. She doesn't want to leave someone behind. So she cracks the vial, becomes Agony, and uses lightning speed to go over, grab Sadie, and pull her to safety when the place blows up. Rex sacrifices himself, and the symbiote helps him. First, the Venom symbiote, like, separates from Eddie, protects him, puts a steel door over him so that the acid won't hurt him, and holds it down so that he's safe. And then it bonds with the 4 or 5 Xenophages, and then carries them. It almost looked like the giant dog monster in a way from the the Shadows video game, the Spider-Man one. That was really cool. So it bonded with all the Xenophages, brought him to the acid, and then used it. It killed the symbiote. It killed the Xenophages. The Xenophages started to get out and start to overpower the symbiote, but then Rex came up and scanned his eye, but then he collapsed because he was dying, and the symbiote went and picked him up and got him to use the eye retinal scan, and they all died there together, and Eddie lived. So I thought that all that was cool. It was a cool moment, really awesome. And then Eddie, to honor Venom's last wishes, the symbiote's last wishes, went to New York to see the Statue of Liberty, and was like, you're still here with me in spirit, buddy. We're here in New York. We're our name's been cleared. Here I am looking at the Statue of Liberty. And that's kind of where the movie ends. And you have, at least Payne got away with the Agony symbiote. So assuming she's still Agony, we're assuming Toxin's still out there. Thompson and some of those other guards got out of there. Sadie got out of there. So a lot of people did live at the end, and the world was saved. But then they had this post-credit scene where Null was like, I'm still going to destroy you all. And he's like looking right at the camera. I was like, why are we afraid of this guy? So he still has symbiotes or Xenophages out in the universe looking for other codexes. I'm sure he'll come across one at some point, but he's like, I will destroy your world or whatever. So I don't know. I'm just like, I can't find you threatening. You can't even get out of a chair. And maybe that's my issue with Null is that he's so powerful, but all these symbiotes were able to bind him, somehow to this chair. And I'm like, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it's because he has to gain more power. Maybe like they found a way to weaken him, separate him from his power or something, and he needs codexes to repower. Maybe all that's true too. But I found that scene very goofy at the end. I'm like, I'm not scared of this guy. He's just sitting in a chair, angry. Maybe it was just the way it was, shot or the way it looked. But I was like, and I was like, and it kind of just deflated parts of the movie for me where I was just like, made me wonder why we were worried about this guy getting out of his chair. Because again, there's no scene in the movie. Like, we read the comics, we know how powerful Null is, but the movie needs to establish visually how powerful he is. And I would have liked to seen a scene where he did conquer part of the universe and show the scene of how the symbiote outsmarted him to bind him. That would have been, something. But then the other post-credit scene is Danny Rojas, the barman. He turns out he was brought to Area 55. It got destroyed. He gets out. He breaks free from his cell or whatever and climbs out of the rubble. And he's like, oh my God, I'm free. And then he runs off into the desert. And the camera pans down and you see the vial that Rex had from earlier when he went into the barman's bar and took the Venom symbiote. He had that little sample. Well, that vial was sitting on a rock and it's cracked open. And you can see a little sliver still in there, not moving. And then a cockroach comes up. And you see the symbiote sliver move, like towards the cockroach. So we can assume that a piece of Venom is still alive now in this universe, and that there's obviously the sliver in the MCU universe still. So yeah, and that's how the film ends. So let me catch up. Sorry to hear you couldn't get it. December isn't too far away now. Yeah, that's true. But I mean, if I play Marvel Rivals, it will probably be for Moon Knight now. I mean, we'll definitely play with Venom as well, but it won't be Venom vlog episodes, obviously, because the show will most likely be over by then. We're going to try to hold off and get these last 15 episodes out. You know what? We can do a Venom vlog live. We'll do a live stream where we play as the symbiote. So you're right. You're right, Tom. 100%. We'll do a Venom vlog live where we play Marvel Rivals with the symbiote. But I know they're going to add Moon Knight down the line, I think. So you'll see Seek at Night episodes with Marvel Rivals for sure. Like, they're just using it to try to put back a hamster wheel. I mean, yeah, I guess. We always talk about that hamster wheel, concept. Concept art of the bike Xenophage chase, and yes, it's official. Is it? I don't know. I saw someone share it, so maybe I didn't see the original source of it, but it just looked like a screenshot of the movie with like an art texture over a shot that already existed in the film. That's how it looked to me. But I'll be honest, I didn't spend too much time looking at it. But I also saw a fan sharing it and not the original artist. So maybe I just missed that part where the original artist shared it. So that's cool. I mean, that's cool that but yeah, it was the Venom symbiote on the bike, and it looked like he had the spider symbol on him. And that makes sense because sometimes when they hire these artists, the artist doesn't fully know really what's going on. If their artist is from another country, or even if they are from this country, they know that most of those images won't get shared most likely, or they're not official in the sense that like the movie's not going to pull from them directly. So they could feel free to draw the spider on there, knowing that's the comic book version. And then the movie just goes like, yeah, well, obviously we're gonna take this shot, but we're not gonna do the symbiote symbol on it. So yeah, what's up, Gurin Logan guy? Yeah, I mean, you're kind of late. We already talked about the how I feel about the movie at the beginning because I wanted to get that out of the way before we did spoilers. But since you missed it, yeah, I think I did like the movie. I gave it like a 7 to 7.5 out of 8. I mean, out of 10. Sorry, out of 10. The first film I gave an 8 to. The Let There Be Carnage, I kind of gave a similar 7 to 7.5. So I kind of feel the same about all the movies, and I would say this third one is, to me, about on par with Let There Be Carnage of what I liked and disliked about it. And so yeah, so I did share that earlier. Same, Cletus is legit Carnage. No one else can be. That's the whole thing. Red and Cletus are one mind being, one psychopath entity. Yeah, and it's like they forgot that, like because they killed Cletus. So they're like, oh, we'll bring him back. We'll take a sample of his blood inside the symbiote, and he'll recreate a Cletus. All right, now we have an older Cletus that became a god, and a younger Cletus who's going to be a serial killer again. And it's just like they just don't know what to do with that character at all, like at all. Or they know how to throw darts at a dartboard with that character, but yeah, I haven't really been enjoying a lot of the stuff they do with Carnage. Sacrifice is pretty sad. Didn't even eat a chocolate. I know. But I like that the kid gave Eddie chocolate and Eddie let the symbiote eat it, and then that helped create a bond with Eddie and the symbiote and the kid. And then there was a moment where the symbiote showed himself and told the kid, "Don't be afraid. Like, I know you're scared of aliens, but not all of us are bad," kind of thing. And I thought that was cool. Again, just like set up and pay off character moments that I thought worked in the film. Null saying he's going to destroy or kill the world, and then standing or sitting there is his entire personality. I mean, that's pretty much it, Kim. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I was like, well, that's quintessential Null sitting there and telling you what he's going to do. But him doing it is like, you had to wait 30 issues of a comic to see him fight. And while he was winning, Eddie, bonded with that cosmic power and just sliced him up real good. It's funny that we had 2 Ted Lasso actors in Venom 3. I know. And also, what's her name? The lady who plays the owner of the soccer team. She's beautiful. The very tall lady. She Hannah, I think her name is. She showed up to the premiere of Venom, The Last Dance. And I was like, is she in the movie too? Is she a character they haven't revealed yet? Because I'm like, what a Ted Lasso reunion. But yeah, no, they had Juno Temple and Fernando. What's his name? Cristo Fernandez. So it's, yeah, but yeah, 2 Ted Lasso actors. That's true. If you would had subtitles at the bottom of the screen when Null speaks or not, it won't change the fact that it did look like a video game cutscene. I mean, yeah, those weren't particularly mind-blowing looking shots to me, because everything was CG. Like, nothing really seemed practical. Even when it was a close-up of him, that could have been Andy Serkis sitting on a green screen set. When they did the side shot of him or him looking up, it just didn't look like it. It looked CG, like you said. So these symbiotes were benevolent, but riots were coming to dominate. So that's my thing. It's because people were saying, oh, this completely rewrites the first movie. It's telling you that Riot and them were coming here as refugees. And it's like, then why did Riot want to get on a rocket ship and go back to Clintar and tell Clintar, or maybe, I don't know. So maybe Riot was like, oh, I'll go back to Clintar, tell them that they can all refugee on Earth, But why would it do that? Like, I don't know. It still doesn't make sense. I don't think it changes Riot. I think Riot was a villain that they were sent as a search party squad to find a place for symbiotes to go. And yeah, maybe the reason was to get away from Null or not, but Riot still had evil intentions. And then bonding with Carlton Drake accelerated that. So they had different intentions ultimately. So yeah, and I think even Carlton Drake wanted to go to space and see where Riot comes from, and that's why they were going to take the rocket. I don't think that rocket would have made it to Clintar though. So I don't know what would have happened if what Riot's real plan was, but yeah, I don't know if it changes his entire personality. I don't know in that regard for the first film. But the ones in this movie, they were refugees, or at least that's according to them, the humans that captured them. I think Moon Knight is going to be on launch. Is he? That's awesome, Tom. Thanks for that good news. I'll let Blue know. Blue is really upset at Fortnite right now. He hated how the season ended, I guess. So we don't have a ton of footage. So I'm going to try my best to make one final Fortnite video to wrap up the Marvel stuff. And then I'm going to make one video on the nightmares, like what's it called? Fort Nightmares. I'm going to make one video on that because there seem to be some cool horror movie things in there. So that'll be another Secret Night episode. But the Marvel one, I think we're just going to do one more episode to wrap up that Doctor Doom stuff. Hannah Waddingham, yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Cam. Ending had me sobbing nonstop, especially when Maroon 5 started playing. That was funny music choice for sure. But yeah, I didn't get as emotional as I thought I would because I cry pretty easily at stuff sometimes. I'm kind of a baby if I really connect to something like that. But this one, I didn't really. I was just kind of, but I did feel. I was like, oh, that's sweet. It was really sweet. I honestly feel Carnage would have been better off staying as a failed hero like Axis. I think it would have been cool when Eddie, like he ate Carnage. So I always assume the Carnage symbiote is still in Venom, like it was in the comics when he ate the symbiote. So I was hoping for a scene where the Xenophage was winning and then he like formed a bunch of Carnage heads like Venom the Madness and made like a red Carnage blade and a black Venom blade and was like, kind of how Riot tried to bonded with Venom in the first movie and created more spikes and stuff and got bigger. I was hoping Eddie would pull something like that out and fight. But it wouldn't have mattered. The Xenophages still would have, he had to acid them. That was the way to do it. Crystal was also Rise of the Beast as Wheeljack. That's right, he was. Good to see. He's a good actor. I like him as Danny Rojas too. So, but I'm glad to see him getting more work and playing these cool characters. Yeah, he was Wheeljack. That's right. I think Ryan was trying to get back to the asteroid where the other symbiotes were. I mean, yeah, I guess other symbiotes though, but all the other symbiotes crashed on Earth with them on that asteroid, and the Life Foundation went and scooped them all up. So those are all dead, right? All those symbiotes. There was a cut scene where originally the Life Foundation had a ship in space that landed on an asteroid, but I don't know if that's canon really anymore because they cut that scene. So now what we have is the asteroid landed on Earth, and the Life Foundation got there quickly to intercept it. So I think those symbiotes are gone. Could be different factions like in the comics, Hive versus Space Knights. Could be that too. That could add to the universe if they expand on this more with Null and all that stuff. So that could be true, actually. Riot, I feel, was a very hard-headed soldier who wants symbiotes to rule all. That's what I think it was, and maybe that's what it was. He was like, you know what? I see myself as a leader. I already dominate over these symbiotes that are here with me. I could go bring back more sheep symbiotes and just have them do my bidding, and I can be a ruler. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe that was his motivation. Maybe it had nothing to do with reporting back to, Null or something. Because I always saw that was always, I thought, part of the canon was that they were sent as a search party to look for a home. And maybe that was because Avi Arad was saying it like that he was anticipating a build up to an invasion movie. And maybe that's where I'm getting that information from. So maybe I could be wrong on that. Or just Avi's version of what he wanted. I think it was an accident, which hilariously happened in the comics too, having two different planets of symbiotes. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true too. That's true. Yeah, ending was horrible. Yeah, I hated how Doom's ending was. They were doing so good before that. That's what he said. So apparently Purple worked on, he wasn't working on Saturdays for a while, but then they asked a favor and they were like, can you come in on this Saturday? And he was like, sure, no problem. That was the Saturday that Doom event was happening. So he said, all right, I'll come in as long as I can leave by like 1 o'clock. So that way he could get home in time for Blue to play that Doom thing. And I guess it didn't happen. Like he ended up staying till like 3 o'clock that day. And by the time he got home, that event had already ended. So Blue was very upset. He logged in and saw that there was no way to play against Doom, that Doom had already been defeated. So he was really mad. But then everyone, like the YouTubers he watched, were saying, hey, don't worry, Doom's going to come back one more time after the Nightmare stuff to wrap out the season. So this is just him being banished, but he's going to come back. And that's what Blue believed, I guess, was going to happen, even though nothing official was ever said. He was just believing this one YouTuber or two YouTubers that he watches because he likes their stuff, and apparently a lot of stuff they say is pretty accurate. But I guess they were wrong this time, so he went into this event thinking he was going to see Dr. Doom, and it was just like, I guess they were watching a concert or something, and he got really pissed off. He got really, really pissed off. He's also in the Sonic movie, the third one. That's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, I know, meaning Fortnite sucked. Yeah, I get you. Carnage Axis for 616 instead of this God Complex. Yeah, the Carnage Axis thing was kind of fun, though. We did cover that on the show. That was fun. I wanted Carnage busting out of Venom to happen. Yeah, like a chest burster. Yeah, that would have been cool. Well, at the start of Venom 2018, it's not an asteroid that crashes. It's a Life Foundation spaceship. Oh, that's right. You're right, Alcatraz. You're right. I forgot what crashed. So yeah, so the ship went up, took them off the asteroid, brought them down. So, but you're saying there's more symbiotes on the asteroid? I don't remember that being established, I guess, in the first movie. I thought all the symbiotes were pulled from the asteroid and they were brought to Earth and they all died one by one at the Life Foundation, except for Riot and Venom. So maybe that's what in your comment that threw me off. But you're right, it was a Life Foundation symbiote. So the scene they cut was them pulling the symbiotes off of the asteroid. And I guess they were riding the asteroid just to get to see where other living planets were. So they were kind of using it as a means to travel through space. But I think they got all the symbiotes, right? Because I don't think, the only reason I say that is because there's no line saying they didn't get all the symbiotes. I mean, I guess there's not a line saying they did either. But I don't know. That's interesting. But yeah, it was because the pilot was Jameson. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. Good memory, dude. I wish Jameson wasn't killed by Riot because I wanted Man-Wolf in the future. Yeah. Did Jameson die? I mean, I guess that ambulance flipped over, but I mean, I don't know. It's just a car crash. He could have lived, right? Unless Riot killed everybody in the van, maybe that's what happened. Remember when people thought Life was a prequel to Venom? Yes, and I still think that would have been cool to do, to have Life, that movie, been the setup, and then at the end they crash and you find out Jake Gyllenhaal's name is Jameson, and then it leads right into the Venom movie. I mean, and it's funny, Sony made that movie too, I think. So that would have been, I think that would have been awesome if that was like a secret backdoor. Because I had pitched once a movie to someone at Sony to be a backdoor entry to Resident Evil, to where because I called it Domicile. That was the name of the screenplay. And you're following this guy, and he's in this mansion that has booby traps, and then he's there's like an infected person that he's also trying to stay away from. And at the end, you find out that the infected person is his daughter, and that she's been infected with the T virus, and that she's Lisa Trevor, and that he is George Trevor, and he designed this mansion, but they infected him with something that was making his like mind go. So he was like losing, so he was forgetting how to solve. He was like, wait, this puzzle seems familiar. And he solves it. He's like, oh yeah. But then as he progresses, the puzzles get harder, even though they're getting easier. Really, he just forgets how to solve them because he's the one who designed the puzzles. But because of something they infected him with, he forgets how to solve, how to solve them. And it was basically to reveal, like, okay, here's how evil the Umbrella Corporation is through this prequel of this guy being stuck in a mansion. And then that way you have the sets of the Resident Evil mansion that you could recycle for the sequel, which would be Resident Evil 1. And it would take place like 20 years later, and you would have, the STARS team going in or whatever. And then I don't know. That was my idea. I mean, yeah, I can see why it got rejected probably because they're probably like, wait, so you want to do a Resident Evil movie but not call it Resident Evil? And it's like, yeah, but that's what life would have been, and that would have been cool, I think. But yeah, when you're thinking with other people's money, they don't like that. People do not. Executives don't like that. So yeah, it's funny because the director of Life did Morbius. I know, right? It's again. The Life trailer even had a shot from Spider-Man 3. That's why people thought that, though. You're right. They had that image they just spliced in there. Remember all those leaks where apparently Venom didn't show up until the end? Also, apparently the symbiote was only in Eddie's blood. I mean, yeah, there was so much Alcatraz. You're right about leading up to the first movie, but that's where like some of these some of the people who do that talk about scoops and leaks and stuff like that, why I've always taken them with a grain of salt, because I felt like a lot of stuff with the first Venom was wrong, even though I think a script or something leaked out there and some of the stuff ended up in the final movie, but they did do rewrites on the script even while they were filming it. I think Tom admitted or revealed that Kelly came on board and even did some rewrites. So of that first movie, I think. So yeah, I mean, like I always kind of take that stuff with a grain of salt because yeah, people get stuff wrong, or people just make up stuff, or they take educated guesses. That's my thing. Is there are some people out there that can just go, okay, well, here's what happened in the comics, but here's what logically makes sense for the movie. So I'm just going to say that a source told me and you also got to be careful when people say that, because if let's say Alcatraz right now, let's say he DMs me on Instagram and says, hey, I heard that in the Venom video game, there's going to be a scene where Eddie kills Anne Weighing or something, then I could technically go online if I was like a scooper person or something and say, hey, a source told me that Anne Weighing is going to be in the new Venom game and that she might die at the hands of Venom. So like, you got to be careful because people will twist an event like that into something that can benefit and help them make content. So I'm not saying everybody does that, but I'm saying a few probably do. So they'll say like sources say, or it's been reported that, and it's like, and that's their way of getting away with putting something out there without getting any negative repercussions if it's wrong. Can't help but feel like there was a version of the film that existed but transformed into something else. Possibly, yeah. I mean, movies evolve all the time. They say when you make a movie, you make it 3 times. You make it in the writing phase, pre-production. You make it while you're filming it because actors and everyone has input. And then you make it when you're editing because the editors and other people and seeing it helps make you look at things differently. So when you make a movie, you make 3 essentially movies, but have to, not settle, but hope that the final edited one is close to the spirit of what you've always wanted to do all along. Venom Trilogy was pretty much leak proof. It's funny because I feel like I know I'm not the only one that got news about Rex Strickland and being in the movie and stuff and Agony. Like I know I wasn't the only one, but no one said anything. And I think that speaks volumes of that fan base and the people that were in positions to get privileged information like that and what it meant to us to get it. We just didn't want to ruin it for other people. So I think that speaks volumes of the type of fan base the Venom community is. Very passionate for sure, and very anti, other people having the symbiote at times, like Harry and stuff. But I think very passionate and loyal. A lot of Tom Hardy fans that I see on Instagram that share his stuff, very loyal. Like if they're asked to take something down, they do it. If they ask what they can post, and if they're told they can't post it, they don't post it. I mean, people who have more integrity than even I do at times, because there will be times where I saw like a picture and I shared it thinking, oh, this isn't revealing anything. I should be able to share it. And then being contacted and being like, hey, next time you share that, just ask. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know it was that. I didn't see it as that much of a big deal, I guess. But it made me realize that, no, I am seeing privileged stuff by being friends with certain people, and I should respect that. So like I said, sometimes even I slip, but I've seen these Tom Hardy fans and fan pages never slip. Like just constantly loyal and with integrity. Got to run, y'all. Thanks, Seek, for the live stream. You're welcome, dude. Thank you. Eddie's Mullet, we'd love to have you on, me and Randy, when we talk about Venom War. So let me know if you're available, because I'd like to make that like a long episode where we just dive into the whole Venom War event. So it's going to end. The final issue comes out November 27th. So early December to hopefully early December, because I'm going to be running out of episodes by then. So let me know if you're available around early December, because I'd love to have you on. But yeah, have a good night, dude. We're almost done here too. I'm going to wrap this up. We've gone for 2 hours. I was only planning to go for an hour and a half, but hey, that's fine. I like talking to you guys. I didn't see the brisk bottle before the first trailer leaked at Comic-Con, so hyperventilating when the design was revealed. Yeah, and a lot of us weren't sure if that was real or not at first, but that was cool. I remember going in LA to different convenience stores hunting those down, and finally I called one that was near my hospital, and I was in Glendale, and I was like, hey, do you have the Venom symbiote, like brisk teas? And the guy's like, oh yeah, I just put a couple of those out. And I'm like, how many do you have? I'm coming right now. It's going to take me like 30 minutes to get there. And he's like, don't worry, I got another case in the back if these sell. He's like, but I'll try to keep them for you. And I went there and I bought like 4 or 5 of them, and he was really nice, super nice guy. So yeah, I mean, we've met a lot of cool people doing this show over the years, you guys being at the top. So thank you for being here, Eddie. Have a good night, sir. And we're going to wrap this up. Let me just catch up on comments here. Alcatraz says, I know, right, Tom, I was head over heels for the design, because I remember there was another leak about Venom's design where he basically looked like an RE liquor. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, there was a leak for that. Yeah, Venom, it's there was a lot of mixed feelings on that look when it first came out, with the the whole veins thing. People really wanted that spider on there, and we went 3 movies, we still didn't get the spider. I thought them bringing in the Xenop Fages with the way their legs were and the tail, like I was like, oh, they're gonna do like a Null dragon Xenophage symbol on him. They never did it. And I also thought there was a setup in the movie where he said, see, Eddie, I told you we can fly. And I'm like, well, that would have been cool at the end if he grew the wings, I guess but instead he did the parachute, which is fine. He glided them down, but that would have been neat to see at the end of him grab the wings and like fly to safety or fly someone to safety or something. But it's fine. It's fine that they didn't do it too. Alcatraz, I do not mess with Cletus opera singer. My gut feeling watching Venom 3 was that Null was put into the film during additional photography. Now, as far as I know, they didn't do reshoots on this film. From what I heard from I would trust this source, this person, not a source, a person. They are a friend. I would trust this person in they saying that only pickups were done. And pickups is different than reshoots or additional photography. It's additional photography is a vague term, by the way. I guess it could kind of mean pickups in a way. But pickups are planned. They are things that they wanted to do when they were originally booking to film the movie. But because Tom has an obligation to do something else, or they didn't finish in time, they're like, okay, well, this scene still needs to be filmed. So we'll pick it up later. This scene needs to be filmed. We'll pick it up later. Not a reshoot. A reshoot is where they're in the editing room, or they have a loose cut of the movie, or they're nearing a loose cut of the movie. They have like a working print to look off of, and they go, you know what? We're missing this. We're missing. That's why ADR is done or whatever. They have a version. They go, well, this isn't really explained well, so we need to shoot a new scene, something we didn't plan before, because it'll help explain this. That is technically a reshoot, from my understanding of reshoots. So as far as I know, there wasn't anything like that for this movie that I'm aware of, but there were pickups. And I guess pickups maybe could be additional photography, but I don't know if the Null thing was. That thing, I think that was always planned there, because Donnie Cates came out and openly said that he read a version of the script and was asked for input because they were using Null. So I'm going to say no on that, and that Null was planned from the jump. Because Tom and Kelly said they knew so there you go. Someone already answered that. Tom did in the code. So there you go. So to get my final thoughts on the third movie as we're wrapping up, since I'm more of a stickler for faithfulness, Sony doing more of their own thing and not staying as true to the comics like the other two is why I don't enjoy this one as much. And that's totally, I get it. 100% get it. I would say for me, I don't mind some liberties taken if the movie makes sense. And I felt like there was more so than some of the other two movies, there was a tonal disjointedness at times with this. that felt like, oh, that could be something worth exploring more, or that feels like a setup and there's no payoff for it or whatever. And we can disagree on what those are, but just my personal feeling, that's why the movie took a couple levels, scored lower for me instead of getting like an 8 or a 9, because even though there was stuff in this that I really did like, there was stuff in there that I would have liked to seen that I felt like would have, I don't know, done something more, brought more to the table, I guess, from a character standpoint. I understand why Anne was not in this film, but I feel like Anne is also a big part of Eddie's journey. So even if he would have just like at the end of the movie in New York, pick up the phone and looked for her number, and then hit dial, I know that's not the point of this movie. And maybe that's just what it is he just accepts that Anne is happy with Dan, and after the second movie. So all those could be explained. Like I'm just saying, like, she felt like such an integral part of his character in the first two films of growth for the character, and the building his relationship with the symbiote, that I guess I would have liked to seen something with her, especially if there was a Dan Lewis cameo. Like, why not Anne also? But again, I guess that's not the story they were telling. The relationship of the first two films was setting up Eddie and Venom, so this was their ending, and I get that. So it didn't lose points for that. I do have a personal critique of that, but it didn't ruin my enjoyment of the movie. But some of those story beats and non-payoff to certain things, I felt in moments that I think could have been there. And some of the stuff that we got that I just kind of felt like on, and even some of the jokes that didn't land fully with me. Those were things that brought the thing down. And also Null, I didn't really like love him too much in the movie either. I get that he was a setup in a way, but I feel like you could have probably still told the movie without Null. Like, you didn't really need the symbiote, the codex. And you could have just had Xenophages be another alien life form, and they just hunt symbiotes and they eat them. And then Venom could have been like, yeah, these things, they're like our enemies. Like, we live on a planet in Clintar and they live on another planet. And, sometimes they come over and they try to eat us, and sometimes we fight back. And, and that's why we always try to look for other places to go, like Riot did. And we were just trying to find places to, to go and get away from the Xenophages, whatever. Like, you could have explained more of a story there. And it wouldn't have changed the overall story of this really at all. So that's why sometimes I feel like, well, if you can take out a whole character and the themes and the feelings the characters go through, and a lot of it can still stay the same, then, so I feel like you could have plucked Null out of this. Null, I think, is more of a setup for other movies. So you can't pluck Null out because he's going to be a setup possibly for other things. So you need him in for that reason. But that's really the only reason I feel you need him in there. But we did kind of say goodbye to Anne and Dan in the last movie. So you're correct. I feel like that is a fine send-off. And I play devil's advocate with myself. Of course, I want to see Anne again because I'm in love with Michelle Williams. But I also am fine with the goodbye we got at the end of the second movie, and Eddie's acceptance that she's happy now and that he is in a relationship or partnership, or however you want to define it, with the symbiote. It's why I didn't enjoy this one as much. I get it though, Swordsman, for sure. I felt Last Dance was the best written of the trilogy, had the best pacing, because 2 is purposely rushed and 1 rushes the second half. 1 definitely, once it starts rolling, it just is nonstop. The first one, it goes and goes and goes. I did see someone point out some inconsistencies where, like, in the first film, Venom's on top of the roof and the plane flies overhead, and it's not even that close to him, and the sound messes with him. But in this one, he's literally on the plane and the sound doesn't mess with him there. So I saw people point that out, and I all good critiques. I think you can really pull that. You could also say that Venom just has gotten more powerful, I guess, in a way, over the course of these films, and is growing, and but they don't say that in the film, so you have to get a no prize for guessing that. But there are no parts though where they awkwardly pause, no jokes. Yeah, I don't know. Some of the jokes just didn't land. I feel like I'm trying to think of a couple of examples so I can better critique this, but I guess maybe there was a couple times where I'm like, well, I don't know if you needed a joke in this scene, because I felt like this could have just breathed on its own, And that's where sometimes I get like with the Guardians movies. Like I love James Gunn, I love those movies, but every once in a while the characters will start yelling at each other just to escalate the energy in the room. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't feel like it. I understand that they disagree and they're arguing and they're kind of acting like children right now, but I don't feel like you need that here. But again, those are personal choices. And I try not to take too many points off the movie for those things. I try to look at technical things like CGI stuff with Null, or even Null's appearance in it. You know, what I thought about how they did the character. Some of the story beats, some of the non-payoff setups. Some of those things are why I take points away. I try to do technical reasons if I can, but also some of those do have personal attachments to them. But stuff like that, I don't want to take a point away because Anne Wang wasn't in the film. The movie doesn't deserve to get a point taken away because of that, in my opinion. When Eddie meets Martin and tells him he is a big believer of aliens, it pauses for a bit after. Oh yeah, okay. I mean, yeah, like it lingers there. But that whole thing in the car, I was like, I get what they were going. It was the Logan moment, right? They wanted to give Eddie a moment to see, you know, what a normal life would have been like for him if he was maybe like less career driven or you know, and stuff like that, like the way he treated Anne to a certain degree, like he could have had a different life. And who knows, maybe he'll go try to have one like that now, because now he knows what it takes to sacrifice and give in a relationship now that he's had this connection with Venom for 3 films. So, or the symbiote. As a little kid, I believed all those fake Venom movies and Spider-Man 4 trailers. Yeah. All right, I must be off. Be well, Seek. You too, Cam. Everybody else, thank you too. I think I got to go too. It's my phone. Actually, the thing just came up saying it was going to die. So Sky, dude, Sky, thank you again for the $20. Again, very nice of you, above and beyond. It means a lot. A lot of you guys who have supported over the years, whether it's watching the videos, liking the videos, you know, donating, doing super chats or whatever it is, you know, everything has been very appreciated. And it's been amazing just knowing you guys, and getting your feedback and being challenged on things. Like I feel like I was in my 30s was a kind of person where if you gave me an opinion, I would have just shot you down. I would have just been like, whatever. That's not me. I don't believe that. You know, and I would have been dismissive. I would have been kind of a jerk. And I feel like by doing this show and having people give me a different perspective, or allowing people to refresh my memory and trust that my memory is not as good as I think it can be sometimes, that I have blind spots and there are things I can't remember. Having just discussions, I think has helped me grow as a person. And I know I don't get super personal all the time about my health and my mental health and, you know, the suicide attempts and things like that. Like I've kind of try not to bring a lot of that in when, you know, if I can help it, even though they are a part of me. But I've been through really dark stuff, like before starting the show and then during the beginning years of this show. But this show has only brought positive things to my life. And every time I think about what life has taken away from me, like Ekko or Ace, even though life gave those wonderful animals to me and friends, I think about this show. And whenever I get really down, I feel like sometimes on Instagram, I can overshare. Purple says I overshare too much and that I can come across a little whiny at times. Sometimes I just need a vent, you know, and I feel like Instagram is the place where I've kind of established that I do that sometimes. So I feel safe doing it there. But I've been through a lot of stuff, a lot of, you know, struggles, and a lot of you guys have helped me see past those. So whenever I do have a bad day, I think of, well, I really enjoyed that conversation with Swordsman, or I love this comment that Giorgio left, or, you know, or Jen reaching out, or, you know, or what about the other day when Sky donated $20? Like all these things I don't just wallow in the negative anymore. I immediately, when I'm there, think of, well, let's look at some stuff that has been amazing in our life. And this show has led me to a lot of you, and that's been some of the most amazing stuff. So thank you for being here. Thanks for hanging out with me for 2 hours tonight. Thanks for 7 years of talking with me. A lot of you, some of you longer. and I will try to keep making content. Like, we are not doing well in some regard, and I don't want to get into that, but we are struggling, and my uploads are a mess. Like, we're all over the place. 2025 is going to be very different. This channel is going to be very different, but I will try my best to deliver some fun stuff. And if I can, at least do once a month, if I can, one of these chats where I just turn on the phone and we just hang out and talk in a live stream and just catch up. I think that just sounds like fun to me. And I hope you guys are cool with doing something like that. And that way we can still squeeze in some Venom comments too, from time to time. But yeah, thank you very much, all you guys. Bye Cam, bye everyone, bye Georgie, Swordsman, Tom, Jen, everyone that popped in tonight. Alcatraz, dude, thank you so much. Like, you guys are awesome. Can't thank you enough. And I will try to do another live stream before the end of the year, for sure. Another Venom Vlog live. And then we'll have 15 more episodes at least to make of the main show. And I'm going to try to get those out to you slowly. But I'll do at least one more box office, and I'll probably wait another week to do that. We'll wait till like week 3 or 4. We get those numbers in, and we'll discuss it then. And then we'll discuss numbers again when the Blu-ray comes out. And that'll probably come out in December, right before the holidays, like the previous ones have. So fingers crossed that we get it that soon. But yes, we are Venom. We are Venom. Thank you guys. You're awesome. And thanks for keeping me positive. See you guys in the future. Peace.